Good evening again, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmies on October 20th, 2014. I'm Jimmy Young, along with Jimmy Myers. Say hello, Jimmy.
I'm still here.
I know, you can say hello, Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy. How are you?
Good, how are you, Jimmy?
It's wonderful to see you, Jimmy.
Nice to see you too, Jimmy. We'll be talking about sports over the next few hours here live from the Knobscott Cafe on 847 Edgell Road in Framingham. Jamie Staffsland's been working really hard behind the scenes to put up some really kind of neat stuff that we're going to introduce on the program tonight, including a second camera. So if you happen to be in the witness protection program, you don't want to be within sight of the camera. I don't know if there's anyone out there to do that.
No.
No.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hard to believe that the week 7 of the NFL season started last Thursday, and it's now Monday, and it will just conclude again tonight. Jimmy, what's your impression of the Thursday night games so far? I mean, the Patriots had to play 4 games in 18 days.
It's a very difficult scenario when you consider the fact that the danger factor of injury in this league is so high, and you're just really pressing that envelope harder and harder each week. And you look every Monday, every day, every Tuesday, and every Friday, you're looking at the injury list to see who got hurt, who's not right. Thank you. I really needed that. Thank you. No, well, you got to live with this, brother, because I'm not looking. I'm not looking at that dark. But anyway, I love dark. Dark is me. But no. Just leave the lights on. We can deal with it. We'll have to deal with it. We're pros. Anyway, the injury factor is so incredibly great to me that you're talking about the possibility of serious injuries. Spiller from Buffalo injured yesterday, gone for the season. Every single week, I'm watching these injuries pile up. And now when you add that Thursday game, here's a perfect example. Denver plays last night. Now they've got to come back with 2-day window for practice, because you got to be in the city the 24 hours ahead of time. So they've got to be there they're going to be in San Diego on Wednesday.
Yep.
The short week is the first thing Peyton Manning talked about coming out of his record-setting touchdown throwing night. He says, here we go again.
Yeah, well, we'll talk a little bit about Peyton. Didn't we come up with the idea that there's a way to schedule Thursday night games and include the off weekend too?
Yes, we had.
Okay, I mean, if I was a Players Association, I'd almost want to make that.
Yeah, we could move the bye week situation to a degree where if you're going to play on Thursday, you're not playing on Sunday.
Well, you're not playing on Sunday anyway. You're not playing on the Sunday before.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But
I'm saying, like last night, Denver, they wouldn't have that game. They would just be coming into Thursday.
Right. I agree. I think that's a great idea.
And then you could juggle whether, here'll be a perfect example. Let's say you had Thursday, no Sunday, Thursday, and you had a bye week. Then you've got 10 days in there.
Right.
Instead of, like you said, the Patriots, 4 games in 18 days. That's absolutely crazy.
It is crazy. And luckily they got a couple of breaks in this last game against the Jets and won by 2 points. And we'll certainly talk a little bit about that. I know Jimmy was worried. For whatever reason, as soon as the Patriots scored that first touchdown, I said, you know what? Patriots play better when they're ahead. So I was actually happy that they scored first. And I just felt under control, even though there were 4 lead changes in that game. I was very, very, very concerned about the Patriots defense. They still can't make a stop when they need to.
No, they can't.
And, you know, that's been hawking this team. Gosh, I'll take it back to the 18-1 season. Because if they had made a stop on that, and actually they did.
Well, remember, they did
Jarvis Green had a full shirt of Eli Manning.
Well,
and then he snuck away.
Now, people keep forgetting there was another play there too, where your defensive back dropped the clear interception.
Oh yeah, right, absolutely.
That came after. That came after that play. If all he does is hold the ball, game's over.
Right. Well,
and he drops the ball, and now the Giants are going, okay, hey, we gave you 2 shots to be perfect. That's it. Here we go. But, you know, when he dropped that ball, I said to myself, there's the game. There's the game. Because you're only going to get so many shots at that. But,
you never thought in a million years, though, you'd see a guy catch a ball in his helmet. And I've tried that. That is very difficult to do. I mean,
you've actually gone out and tried something that crazy.
Absolutely. We did that at camp, just to see if you could do it. Not with a helmet, but on your head.
Ladies and gentlemen, I definitely want to leave this one alone. Because I know how crazy he is. He would try something like that. Normal people They have,
Well,
when you see the car
wait,
commercials,
wait.
stunt performers do not try this, or professional drivers do not try this.
Normal
Somebody should have
people?
told you.
So
normal
basically what
people
you're
do not
saying
try
is
this.
I'm an
No,
abnormal
you're an
person.
athlete. You're an athlete. There's no question that.
Was an
but,
athlete.
But you were an athlete. But that's crazy. I'm not going out there trying to catch a ball with one hand, pull it to my helmet, and bring it down. No, that's how you tear up knees. That's how you break your neck and so forth. But you said, I want to see if it can be done, right?
Right.
It was-
Exactly.
okay.
How many times it would take
But the
to
bottom
try it?
line is, like you said, Jarvis Green had him in the grasp. Okay, we can play revisionist history all we want. The bottom line is they lost. The bottom line is that they lost. It was Asante Samuel had the interception in his hand.
Right.
Dropped it. You lose. So,
You still
can,
don't make the plays. You got to make the plays,
gotta make
when,
plays.
when the game's on the line. That's why I keep saying 3 or 4 plays a
Because-
game decide the outcome of
But
every
see,
NFL
the difference
team.
with that
Every
one was
NFL game.
Asante Samuel was a great interceptor of the ball at that time. He's a cover corner.
Yep.
He makes that play. Everything is the helmet thing. It's all wiped out. The game is over. We get the ball. Game is over. And normally, yes, you can't expect the helmet play, but this is a ball that Eli even admitted. Was I talking to him later? I thought it was over. The moment I saw him square up to it, I thought it was over. He drops it. So now the game is okay. Here's our chance. We go win.
Let's not talk about revisionist history.
Okay.
A lot of people out there do not want to talk about
Well,
that game ever
sorry.
again.
That's the way life goes.
Last night, Peyton Manning breaks Brett Favre's record
Yeah.
of number of touchdown passes. It was a great moment in Peyton Manning's history. I guess the question now is, how good is Peyton Manning? Is he the best ever? Can you even say that? Is there something that Peyton Manning does that is his strongest suit? Like if you're talking about a quarterback, you're talking about the tools, decision making, throwing long, touch throwing, stepping out of the pocket. I guess that would be pocket awareness. We could name probably 2 or 3 other characteristics.
Arm strength,
Arm
which he
strength.
does not have right now. He doesn't have great arm strength anymore. Peyton can't throw the ball the way he used to. The bottom line is this.
I'm amazed
If you
he's still playing with his neck.
If you're judging by records, he's always one shot away with that too, Jimmy. He's
I
always
know.
one shot away from retirement. If you're judging by records, he sits at the top of the heap of an amazing statistic. 510 now touchdowns, still counting. First thing Brett Favre said was go for 600. But we're talking about a different game than we're talking about. If you know anything about history from the Johnny Unitas era to today, we're talking about a totally different game, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about
Changes that have
make
impacted the
passing,
game.
No, to just make passing the game. The
Right,
game
right.
is passing.
Right.
So when people say, well, nobody's going to break his record, you don't know that.
No.
Because if young quarterbacks coming along today, if they start young enough and they play long enough, with these loose passing rules where you can't even touch guys,
Oh, that's a
Jimmy,
penalty.
somebody will get to 500. Now, that's the new magic number. Brett said it. Now, Peyton has gone beyond it, and the game will always evolve. Something happened yesterday that's along the same par, believe me, no, it's not even along the same par, but there is a comparison to be made. That comparison being DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray broke a record that's been standing since 1958. That's Jim Brown starting off the season with 6 100-yard games in a row. Now, you could very easily say he's not playing against the kind of people that Jim Brown was playing against. The game was totally different then. You had 11 guys in the box gearing up for Jim Brown.
And they still couldn't stop him.
And they still couldn't stop him. And if Jim Brown was really thinking, well, maybe I should take this 100-yard thing a little bit further, he might have gone a whole season averaging 100 yards a game.
By the way, how many games in a season back then?
12.
Yeah.
If I'm right, it was
Up
12.
to the 50s and 60s,
And
yep.
remember, he went half of them with 100 yards. Now, DeMarco Murray, very humble young man too, which was nice. He said, look, I'm nowhere in Jim Brown's category. At least he's that smart to know that. He says, I am just honored to be able to have this record. Now, how long does the record stand? There's your big question. How long will the record stand? And
Well,
with the way the game is played.
They're not running the ball anymore.
Yes, but you can. With the passing lanes being so wide open, Dallas has showed you you can run the football. Because remember, when you put 8 in the box, you're opening up the passing game. When you drop 2 of those out of the box, we're going to run.
That's
Peyton's
right.
been doing this. Peyton Manning has been doing this for the last 5 years. He walks up to the line of scrimmage. He surveys it. Okay, if they're in a 5, if they got 5, if they have 6 or more in the box, we're going to run. 6 or less in the box, we're running. If they have more than 6, we're passing. So it becomes, and that's not to demean DeMarco Murray's achievement, Jimmy. It's a marvelous achievement what he did. But at the same time, you can't compare what he did to what Jim Brown did. I mean, Jim Brown is like, he's here, and everybody else is like still down there.
Absolutely. Hey, one of the things we get to do on this show is give away free car washes, but we're very excited to actually announce that we have 2 cameras, and I think Jamie is setting up the second camera right now to get a shot of the crowd, because what I want to do is I want to ask
Jamie
a
loves
question.
his toys, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to
He loves
ask
his
a
toys.
question about Peyton Manning. Okay? We all know, and Joe, you cannot answer this question. This is for everybody else. You've won enough car washes, okay?
Joe has enough car washes to wash his. Joe has enough car washes to buy a third car and
Dad
still
can't
wash
answer,
them all for a year.
But the first person that comes up to me with the following answer. So Peyton Manning knocked out Brett Favre's record of most touchdown passes. Brett Favre had a very long career. What was the last NFL team?
But go ahead.
Anyway, so that's the question. The first person that comes up to me to tell me Brett Favre's last team that he played for, I will hand you a free car wash from Scrub-A-Dub Car Wash, our friends on Route 9. Again, the question is, what team did Brett Favre end his career?
Thank you very much, Jimmy. As he goes over to give away free car wash certificates, my car is still filthy, but that's okay. I can live with that because not my car. But as I was trying to make the comparison earlier in regards to Peyton Manning and the achievement that he eclipsed last evening and the achievement where he stands now. In the pantheon of great quarterbacks, and I've seen so many of them in a 50-year period of my life, and I think of all that he has accomplished, and I think of his critics who will say we only won 1 Super Bowl or whatever. It is still an amazing achievement. When I think of Dan Marino, who stepped into the fray in about 1983, 1984, and set all kinds of passing records. The game was evolving and changing at that time. I remember the Miami Dolphins playing the San Francisco 49ers in the '85 Super Bowl, I believe it was. And it was their high-powered offense against the San Francisco 49ers offense and a great defense.
Yeah, 85 Super Bowl. The Patriots were in that one.
No, it's
85, 86.
Yeah, but I'm saying 84, 85.
84, 85.
Yeah.
It was the one, I think, and you think Marino 83, that was that 6 quarterback draft?
Oh, man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I
That
think
was the one.
it was
only in
84.
the second year
Yep,
when they got
right.
there.
That's
it'd
it,
be
1984.
83, so
Yeah.
84, 85.
84, 85. So
And-
you were kind of right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyway,
And I didn't even have to look
I
it
saw
up.
Marino throw, 49 touchdown passes and the duper.
So who
duper
was better?
combination.
Come on, let's cut to the
No,
chase, Jimmy.
No, not because Jimmy.
They're different times, I get it. But if you had to make it in today's rules,
If Marino was playing in today's world,
what?
are you kidding me?
That's what I'm going for
This is
here.
a frightening proposition, ladies and gentlemen. You're talking about a guy that could probably throw for 700 yards in a game, in one game. That's how good. Quickest release since Joe Namath. I mean, Joe Namath, if he was playing in this era. So how can you say the greatest or who's the best? Who would you choose? The one thing that I admire about Peyton Manning from the beginning, and I've known this man since he was a child, preparation. Peyton Manning prepares better than as well as any quarterback that's ever played this game, and better than 90% of them. Tom Brady prepares well, not like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is in his head from the moment he wakes up in the morning till he steps on that field, and the days in between, all he thinks about is the preparation of the game. So he is greatly prepared for what he's doing. It's not an accident that this is happening, and it's not athletic skill, because Peyton Manning has never had that great an athletic skill.
Right.
And he's not as good an athlete as Tom Brady is. He's not as good an athlete as Dan Marino was before Dan Marino hurt his knee. He's not as good as a lot of these guys. But when you talk about walking up to the line of scrimmage, there are three things that happen. You walk up, you see the first preset of the defense as they're lining up. He has that in his head. Then he starts pointing out Mike, linebacker, this linebacker,
Omaha.
dog here, da-da-da. He's
Omaha.
doing all of this stuff in his head. Then there is the snap. Once he sees the snap and he starts to retreat, to throw a pass, all of a sudden the defense starts to show itself. But he already knows where they're going. He's a step ahead of them. Then once he's set in the pocket, the defense will adjust one more time. He's still ahead of them because he says, this guy has to go here, this guy has to, it's like chess. He's already 3 moves ahead of the defense. Now, for his critics out there, you will say, well, what happened in the Super Bowl? Well, in the Super Bowl, I still say, when the opening snap of the game is snapped over your head and a safety occurs, the whole balance of the game was gone. And yes, the Legion of Boom, they played their butts off that night, and they were supposed to win. But when they played this year and the adjustments were made, this game had to go into overtime in Seattle for Seattle to win, which tells me Denver with a better defense, Denver with a better team on that field, and this guy's still generating offense. He took them down the field twice. And he threw an interception that could have gave them the lead with 2 minutes to go. But he still took them down the field with just about no time to go and tied the game. You're rarely going to see this type of quarterbacking. And I equate him.
I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen in
Well,
my lifetime. He
maybe-
really is.
maybe
the whole
he
package.
is.
The whole package.
Well, maybe. But, you're
And
talking
still
about
can be
Johnny
beat.
Unitas.
I
saw
know Johnny
Unitas.
I saw him
I
too.
saw him, Jimmy.
I understand you
And I'm
saw him.
talking about, this is when you didn't have all the sophistication of all these things. You can still pick apart any defense. You have some great quarterbacks that have come down the line that you're just saying, okay, because he threw 509 touchdown passes, that's it. That's not the criterion. I look at his body of work of how, from being a rookie that came to a team that's 1-13 the year before, something like that, right?
Yep.
And turning that franchise around and becoming that premier quarterback in less than a year and a half. I'm more impressed by that accomplishment, and I do look at Andrew Luck in the same manner now,
Yeah,
because
he's
I'm starting to look at him and say, whoa. I mean, this guy is seeing stuff out there that the game is slowing down to almost like slow motion for him. And there's a perfect example of a guy. If he plays long enough, Jimmy, he'll be sitting in that 400 to 500 yard touchdown marker, because he's got enough people around him to put up those numbers.
All right. So we also have a new element to the program. The Bravermans are going to be very excited about this. You can now call us.
Oh boy, here we
Now,
go.
I'm not going to give you out my phone number.
Okay.
But we have another phone number that we will give out, and even though you have my phone number, 508-909-5962. 508-909-5962. Just in case you happen to be watching this live on YouTube on the Jimmy's
be fun.
Sports Talk channel.
This could get crazy, but this could be fun. Because there's got to be some people out there that are watching this. Oh, I saw this quarterback. What about this quarterback? How do I compare this person to this person? Fine. And this is why I'm saying it's so very difficult to say that one is the best of all time. And what's going to happen if
How about one of the best 5?
Yes, I think it.
Is that better?
He can be there.
I think they're all
He
there. I
can
think
be there.
every argument
be there.
could be ended if you say, look, it's the best, not the best, different eras. The best 5.
But think about this, Jimmy. Think about this. During their heyday.
Now it's on the screen.
Think about this. During their heyday, Johnny Unitas 58-59 wins back-to-back world championships. Nobody even thought about that. But before Johnny Unitas, there was Otto Graham, Automatic Otto,
And Sammy Baugh.
Cleveland and Sammy Baugh. These guys were winning titles back when the league was wearing leather helmets just about. And you can't just wipe away their accomplishments. You can't say 9 titles in 10 years or 10 titles is nothing. That compared to the day when you win 1,
Let me ask you
you're
a question.
happy.
Let me ask
It's
you a
great.
question.
Go ahead.
What do you value more? The number of championships won or the number of MVPs won?
Championships.
Championships. So
Easy
Joe
for me.
Montana.
Easy for me.
Joe Montana.
Easy for me.
best quarterback of all time, then, or certainly in the top 5.
No,
Well, you
he's
just
in the
said
top
it.
5.
Top 5, okay.
But there are going to be people. Well, hold on. Okay, if you want to go there, think of this.
Yeah.
As crazy as he was, and although he had many, many hits on his intelligence level, you're still talking about 4 Super Bowl titles.
Yeah.
How many guys have 4? Terry Bradshaw's in there.
Yeah, I was going to say Terry Bradshaw's
He's
the
in
next
there.
one.
Terry Bradshaw's
And by
in-
the way, never gets mentioned.
No, doesn't get mentioned.
Never gets mentioned.
And took a lot of shots in regards to not being as smart as the other quarterbacks in the league. Look, he won. That's the bottom line. And if you said, if we're going to rate it on championships, he played on a superior team. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense of those years in the 70s, look how many Hall of Famers there are.
That, to me, is what you look
Mel
for
Blount.
in any team. How many Hall of
Mean
Famers?
Joe Green.
Future Hall of Famers.
Jack Lambert, Jack Ham. These are names that just rattle off the top of my head that I'm thinking of. And I'm thinking about these great defenses, no matter how many times Terry turned the ball over, they're going to get the ball back. Don't worry, Terry, we're going to get you the ball back. No problem. But when I'm looking at the 49ers in their heyday, Jimmy, from where Montana took them in the first title, when they beat Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Bengals, that championship game against Dallas was the turning stage of Dallas giving up superiority in the NFL to the 49ers. Up to that time, the 49ers had never won anything.
Yeah.
And now here's Joe Montana in the early 80s, they win. And then by the mid 80s, they're dominating.
Right.
And remember, he did not have a great defense on that team. They beat Cincinnati 26-21 in that Super Bowl. It was 81. And if memory serves me correctly, they needed a goal line stand to
Yes,
win
they
that
did.
game. So
Yes, they did.
this
I
is
remember
still
that
in,
video, too.
in my head. 4 shots with Ickey Woods and those guys. 4 shots from the one.
By the way-
and they couldn't get in. I know, don't tell me about this crazy commercial, because I've seen it more times than I want to see it. The Geico commercial, silly. Anyway,
And that's why I like it.
of course, yes.
We're going to get some cold cuts. We're going to get cold cuts.
Are you done?
I'm not going to dance.
You just get crazy.
All right,
Anyway,
wait,
anyway,
I get what you're saying.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that
We get it.
I'm still gonna rate it on the fact of championships won, and
Okay.
particularly today when that's all you hear about. How many Super Bowl rings? Tom Brady is better than Manning because he has 3 Super Bowls, and Peyton only has 1. I mean, you can't judge it on all those things when I have to consider which team had a better defense, which team had the better
No
overall
question.
team,
And you
which
know
had the
what,
better
they are.
special
but
teams.
you know, Jimmy, in this game, in this day and age,
I know, it's about winning. I
It's
got
all,
it.
No,
I got it.
it's really, it's about winning, but it's also about we follow the ball. You know, sports fans, football fans specifically, they watch the ball. That's why the quarterback gets far more.
I don't watch the ball.
I
though,
know
Jimmy.
you don't.
I was never
But you're not
trained to watch
typical.
the ball.
You
But I
are
wasn't
not
trained to
typical.
and everybody that I talk to, all the fans I try to educate, I say, don't watch the ball.
Yeah, but you got to watch the ball to see
No,
the game.
no.
All right. Anyway,
You take a
right.
panoramic view of your giant screen,
All right.
of your flat screen. You look. The first thing you look at once the ball is snapped. The first thing you look at if it's a passing situation particularly, look at how the defensive line and the offensive line meet. Whoever gains the first inch or first two or 3 inches pushing one way or the other will normally dictate to you where the play is going to go and how the play is going to go. Offensively, and ladies, this is very easy because a lot of women say, I don't watch football because I don't understand it. 2 lines, 5-on-5, basically, or 5-on-4. Offense, we're going to run, you'll see the line go forward, and you'll see holes open up. Then the linebackers have to step up or whatever. Passing, they're going to be rushing, and the line is going to form a pocket around the quarterback. If these things, a 3-second span, it's not that hard to watch, Jimmy, for 3
no,
seconds.
I'm not saying it is
It's
hard
not
to
going to
watch,
be that
but
hard to
you
watch.
know.
Bingo, you figured out football. Because then by the time you see the quarterback's arm raise up, which your eyes are quick enough to see it, you'll just be looking wide and say, where is he throwing the ball? Boom, he's throwing the ball over there, left, right, down the middle. So it's not that hard, Jimmy. It really isn't. Once you train your eyes to look at the game a certain way, it's not that hard, partner. It just isn't.
I understand that, and a lot of people still watch the ball because that's just the way they watch the game.
Okay.
Now, coming up at 7 o'clock, we're going to make a phone call. You could call us, but we're going to make a phone call, and we're going to talk to WCVB TV's Bob Halloran, who is now a full-time sports guy over at Channel 5, and we're thrilled to have him with us because he's been an old friend of mine for many years, and I'm really probably just going to step out because if Jimmy and Bob Halloran start talking back and forth, I'm just going to leave.
No, you're not. You're going to stay right here.
I'll
You're
stay
supposed
here and I'll
to. You can
referee.
No. You'll jump in with questions. You'll be fine.
I'll jump in with questions. I will, but that'll be coming up in 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes. It's a 2-minute warning.
Okay.
And it looks like Jamie's got a really neat effect ready to go for this, too. And, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's almost like Bob will be here. He won't be moving his lips, but he'll be here. Okay? All right, fair enough. I don't want to get off on anything right now, Jimmy, because I want to see if we can hit this thing. We're definitely going to talk about more about the Patriots game and how in the world the Jets lost that game as opposed to the Patriots winning that game. If you look at the numbers, and if you just looked at the statistics and the numbers of that game, you would have said to yourself, there is no way the Jets lose that game. In fact, I'm going to give Rex Ryan credit for putting in a great game plan.
Good game plan.
Because he used everything but the kitchen sink out there. And I'm wondering if the AFC East is better than a lot of people think it is, because Buffalo won this weekend.
Yeah,
Miami
but
won
Buffalo
this weekend.
lost key players.
I know that.
So
I'm not
they're
looking
not going
beyond
to be
that.
as good now. You're not going to be as good without Spiller. You're not going to be as good without Freddie Jackson if he's seriously injured. So bottom line is, the AFC East the Patriots still the best in a weak division. It's not a strong division, Jimmy. It's just not.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a strong division. Is it weak? Is it stronger than many people thought?
Let's go back to the Jets game very quickly. When you look at how they played, I always say the bad teams find a way to lose, and the good teams find a way to win. And the Jets are a bad team.
They are a bad team.
So they find
eventually
ways to lose. That's
right.
why you're 1-6. Jimmy.
That's right.
This isn't hard to figure out. I mean, once you start out the season,
Just stop.
And
Just
once
stop.
you- yeah.
Just hang on to that thought, all right?
Okay.
Because Bob's going to come on the phone with us. I want to make sure I can actually hear him. We got one ringy dingy. Do you remember that?
yes, I do. But get a new line. You have 2 rings. Ringy dingy. Oh man, I like to ringy your dingy.
You
sometimes.
can, is this Bob Halloran?
Yes, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
All right, so you're here with Jimmy Myers and myself, and your voice is also being heard at the Knobscot Cafe over the internal public address system. So just think, it's almost like you're the voice of God, almost being the key phrase there, Bob.
That's very exciting.
I knew you would be. So Jimmy just made an interesting point. I want to bounce it off you about between good teams and bad teams. I happen to think now that the AFC East might be better than many people think it is. However, good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose, and that's what happened with the Patriots and Jets on Thursday night. Agree, disagree? What's your feeling about that?
Well, if you're going to go on that specific game, I would say the better team won. I don't know that it falls into that category that good teams find a way to win. Because, the Patriots are simply a better team who played poorly.
Right. Hang on, Jamie, we need a headset. I bought one for Jimmy. I just want you to know. Oh, there it is.
It was sabotage. It's all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
What did he say? So something.
Oh, now I have to remember what he said?
Yeah, well, fine.
I didn't
Fine.
take
Call to
notes
memory.
on it.
You have one. I know
You're
you do.
tapping me on the
You have a
shoulder.
good-
Bob's talking to me. You're right. I heard what you said. The Patriots played well enough to win because they're a better team. Is that pretty much, did I just sum that up properly?
I think you did very well with that. You did it in 8 words. It took me about 120.
Well, that's one of the things I try to do, you know? All right, now, well, you got
Not
to
in that one.
pick the right
Hold on,
ear.
hold on, hold on.
It's the ear that you can actually, Bob,
me. Don't be
say
cute.
hello.
No, I don't hear.
Well, he hasn't said anything yet. Bob,
Hello.
I'm here.
Okay, I can
no,
hear you now.
I hear
Go
you
ahead,
fine.
I hear
Of
you
course you do. All right, so now Jimmy Myers can hear you too, as I can, and we're good to go. Quarterback gets far too much credit and far too much attention. That is the nature of the business and the position. However, I really believe that Tom Brady showed the world again in his 3rd game in a row that he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Agree? Not agree?
Yeah, I think Tom Brady's still one of the best quarterbacks in the game because he reads the defenses the best and still can get the ball. And understanding this whole thing about Tom Brady's window being narrowed and closing for the past year or two, and he's still got several more years to play. And yet we're not really talking about the window closing for Peyton Manning, who had neck fusion surgery 2 years ago,
Twice.
came back and is playing at the top of his game. I think quarterbacks can age, fairly well and still be elite. And Brady well, he didn't have an offensive line and got off to a slow start early in the year, ended up falling down the rankings. But when he has time and has an offense, he can still lead as well as the top 10. I'm not going to put him in the top 5 right now, but we'll see how the season plays out.
Well, I think that's still a basis of NFL play. If you can protect your quarterback, he can be a mediocre quarterback and still look better than he is. I mean, the classic example to me now is I'm looking at Andy Dalton from Cincinnati, Bob. He had another subpar game yesterday. Now, this is a Cincinnati team. Yes, they will say they didn't have A.J. Green and he didn't have his key weapons, but he just played lousy. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when the Patriots played Cincinnati. I said Cincinnati has a tendency to come up flat in big games. I don't know if it's Marvin Lewis, I don't know if it's his staff, but they just don't play well in big games. And I find that to be a major, major problem because they just gave this guy huge money and he's supposed to be their quarterback to take them to the Super Bowl. I don't see it. Do you?
No, and one of the things I'd say as you're speaking, though, is that how poorly Cincinnati has played makes me wonder how good the Patriots are. And that's because after that Kansas City debacle, everybody thought, okay, they need to right themselves. And, look how well they played against this very good Cincinnati team. And, of course, they beat Buffalo like they always beat Buffalo, and then they eked out a win against the horrible Jets. And so you're looking at a team that's, 5-2, and that's pretty good. But I'm still looking at games against Oakland and Minnesota and, the loss against Miami. And I'm thinking they haven't proven anything yet. And that's why Jimmy Young is talking first about how well Brady can play still.
Mm-hmm. Well, you still
I'm
have to
still
see.
looking at their competition, and I want to see how they can handle this next 6-game stretch that they've got.
Well,
so what do you think?
Out of that,
You got 6 games, and everybody's talking about 6 games. What are you expecting? 3-3, 4-2, 2-4? Dare I say
3-3 means that they're 3-3 to me means they're a playoff team, and one and done or whatever. It doesn't mean they're a Super Bowl contender. I would say the same on 4-2. You go 5-1,
Yep.
and all of a sudden you're right back where I think a lot of people put the Patriots at the beginning of the year. They thought the Patriots were Super Bowl contender in the AFC, and then take your bets against the NFC. But that weak start changed everybody's opinion, and I'm suggesting that based on a 3-game winning streak, a lot of opinions have changed back. Not mine yet. I have to see what they can do against teams with winning records that are pretty solid, and it doesn't even start with the Bears.
Yeah.
I say 3-4. I mean, even that isn't going to do a whole lot. Let's see what they can do against Denver and San Diego and some teams that have put up some numbers and have
Indianapolis.
quarterbacks that you have to worry about.
Indianapolis. You got to look and see how they're going to match up with these teams, Bob. I'm talking about teams that can put points on the board with them, teams that have pretty decent defenses that can contain or at least keep them in the game. See, to me, I've been telling Jimmy from the beginning, the book is completely out for me as far as this Patriot team is concerned. I just don't think they're that strong. I really don't. If they make the playoffs and they're a one and done, if they make the playoffs and they get the opportunity to get a home field game, okay. But is this the team I want to take on the road? Now you lose Mayo. Now you lose, you're losing key people. You lose Mayo on defense, who's your leading tackler. You lose Ridley on your offense, and it's the offensive line is still shaky to me. So I'm in. It's not that we're agreeing. I just have my own opinion. I've said it from the beginning. I just don't think this team is that good. I just don't. I think Brady.
I know, and we focus a lot about the offense and whether Brady still has it. Does he have the weapons? Can the line protect him? Things like that.
That's what I'm worried about.
The defense is the biggest problem. The defense has faced guys like Geno Smith and Ryan Tannehill and these mid-level to below average quarterbacks.
Yep.
And they're giving up yards. And they're giving up points. And they're giving up 200 yards rushing.
Big yards.
The Patriot defense is not what we thought it might be when they got Darrelle Revis. And therefore, the offense needs to compensate or overcompensate for that, and that's where I'm not sure the Patriots are good enough when they start facing solid competition, because right now it feels to me like Peyton Manning is going to put up 42 points on this defense, and this Patriot offense can't respond to that. So the defense has to at least start knocking teams down below 20 points so that the Patriot offense can perform at its best level.
Hey, Bob, you mentioned Revis. he's underachieved so far this season. I mean, if you look at the impact that Aqib Talib had on the defense when he was healthy and playing for the Patriots versus where Revis is now and the impact that he's had, Talib has got him beat. I mean, the defense played better. The Patriots defense played better when Talib was in the lineup.
And credit also, before you answer, think about what Talib has done for Denver's
Oh,
defense.
my goodness.
How much better he's made their defense before. And you got to give T.J. Ward credit too. The safety back there backing you up is not bad. But I think it's a little unfair, Jimmy, because I think you're asking something of Revis. He's shutting down his part of the field, but he's a cornerback. He's a defensive back. Defensive backs aren't going to turn teams around. Your linebackers are what's going to turn a team around. Those are the key guys on the defense to me.
Yeah, but if you shut down a wide receiver, that opens up space more for the linebackers too, and you can get cover sacks a lot easier if you have better
if you're
cornerbacks.
running the ball, Jimmy, like Bob said before, once they're gouging you running the ball because your linebackers cannot stop the run, I don't care how well you cover or I don't care how long you cover, you're opening up plays down the field. Your thoughts, Bob?
I think you're right, and I think that Revis is part of the weakness against the run because he doesn't know how to make a tackle.
You got
and
it.
I tweeted early in the year, and it was mostly tongue in cheek, but it was a compliment to Revis based on what I'd seen in the preseason. I said that guy's not going to make an interception or a tackle all year because as I was watching him ISO'd, he had his man blanketed. There was no way any quarterback is going to throw to that side of the field the way he was playing in the preseason.
Yep.
Now, we're not seeing that same guy. And I thought that Revis, his biggest addition that he could make for this Patriot defense is that they don't have a single playmaker on the team. And as much as you mentioned,
who doesn't have a?
Mayo or something like
Hang on a second. Chandler Jones isn't a playmaker on defense?
No, I don't think he is. I think that around here in New England, we say things like, oh, Gerard Mayo and Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones and Vince Wilfork like it means something. These guys don't do anything out there. How good is Vince Wilfork if a team is rushing for 218 yards? How good is Chandler Jones if he makes a sack a game, but then we don't see him the rest of the time?
Music to my ears from an objective person and not a fan.
I'm a fan.
Who I try to tell him,
We're
Bob.
looking at Devin McCourty as a great play, a good player. This is a bunch of good defensive players. But when the Patriots were winning Super Bowls, they had Rodney Harrison and Teddy Bruschi and Richard Seymour and Ty Law
Spoiled.
and guys who made plays and ran balls back. This team is bend but don't break, and then they break. There is not a solid enough defense, and it's been that way for a really long time. It's been that way for about 7-8 years now.
Yep.
Right. Well, actually, we were talking about that, Bob, that the defense hasn't been able to make a key stop late in the game and go back even to that 18-1 season when they really tried to make a stop, almost did, and didn't, and it cost them an undefeated team. You know.
Yeah.
But it's still
even
Go
that,
ahead, Jimmy.
to me, that was today's conversation about whether it was Manning and Brady and the whole bit. And I look at 2007, and Tom Brady became Peyton Manning that year because he didn't have a defense the same way that Manning didn't for years. When Tom Brady went back-to-back Super Bowls, Patriot defense was ranked 1 and 2 in all the main statistical categories. The same is true for Joe Montana when he was winning Super Bowls. And I don't understand why we don't talk about guys like Troy Aikman and Terry Bradshaw when we're going to talk about top quarterbacks because they've won multiple Super Bowls. But we always know it was the Steel Kurtler, it was Franco Herrick, or it was
Wasn't somebody just talking
like
about that? Bob,
you can't win without defense, and right now the Patriots don't have a good enough one.
See, it feels wonderful to hear. So I've been
We
talking
just said
about
that.
this before you got on the phone.
Brilliant minds.
It's still going to come down, Bob, to defense. And Tom Jackson, who was a pretty good defensive player in his day for the Denver Broncos, who's now ESPN commentator, he made a statement. He's made several statements, but one, he said the magic barometer is that 17 to 20 point barrier. If you're holding teams to 17 points in this league, which the Ravens are doing right now, which your better teams are doing right now, you don't have to worry. Because think about this. Denver laid it on the 49ers. Yes, they did. But people keep forgetting that, if memory serves me correctly, the 49ers scored how many points last night? 17? 17? And if Denver holds you to 17 points, believe me, Peyton Manning's going to get you 30 to 40. You can't beat them if that's the way the scenario is going to go. Whereas I look now, let's flip to Seattle for a second. with the Percy Harvin trade. You can talk about that in a second. But all that mess that's going on out there right now, all of a sudden, they went from the darlings of the NFL to now being a very vulnerable football team, because they are. They're not that good. And if Percy Harvin's being gone affects you that badly, and I'm sorry, that you lose to the Rams, although the Rams gave the 49ers all they could handle the first 10 minutes of the game last week. 14-0, and then they fell apart.
And the
but
Rams won
yesterday, they didn't fall apart.
Right.
The special teams, the gaff there. I mean, the things that championship teams just don't do, Bob. They just don't do.
6 games yesterday decided by 2 points or less. Does that say parity or putrid football, Bob? What do you think?
Well, more often than not, I think the NFL is closer to putrid, and that's because of the parity. We don't have the great teams that we used to have, and that gives every team a chance on any given Sunday.
Yep.
But Jimmy Myers, I'd ask you this question as far as when you say championship teams don't do this. That's exactly what I said when the Patriots lost to Kansas City. A championship team doesn't have that on their resume. And so that was when I started to look at the Patriots completely differently in terms of whether or not they could win a Super Bowl. I thought that was a bit of an aberration, that they're better than that, the whole bit and stuff, and that they can make the playoffs, they can make some noise, they can win their division. But there's no way to look back at all the Super Bowl champions of the past 20 years that they ever got their butt handed to them the way the Patriots did in that game. So
that was embarrassing.
I think that they had a long way to go.
Yep.
And I'm not convinced that Seattle is dead yet. I think
No, I'm not saying they're dead, but I'm saying they have major problems, Bob. They have major problems.
They got problems, but I think they're going to get a wake-up call. This is that bit about where it's really difficult to repeat because you all get huge egos and you start taking things for granted.
And money, and guys getting paid, and guys thinking they're better than they are. Yep, you're right. Yep.
And now pride's going to take over, or it's not. But I think that they're going to have to look at themselves, and once they start playing at their best again, their best is still the best in the NFL. I think. Maybe,
but I'm still not convinced now because you lose to the Rams. You darn near lost last week. I mean, this is the team now because Russell Wilson said it last night. We'll find ourselves. But how many times, Bob, have we been in locker rooms and held microphones and heard guys say this? Oh, we're going to find ourselves. Don't worry. This is going to be fine. And then you start to see it slipping away. You start to see a 13-3 team drop to an 11-5 team or a 10-6 team. And all of a sudden now, Seattle's got to go on the road. They're not in Seattle with the 12th man anymore. See, they have to win the West, partner. Remember, and that's not going to be a cakewalk now. St. Louis, San Francisco.
If we want to pick apart Seattle just a little bit, and I'm with you on that, then we have to remember when Green Bay was slumping. We have to look at the Patriots. We have to look at every team in the NFL except probably Denver. And that's about it, because every team has had 1, 2, 3 games to this point where they haven't played well, or where they've struggled, or where they've lost. And so they've all got flaws, and that's that parity putrid thing. We can come right back to that.
Well, I still have the greatest laugh because I'll never forget Pete Rozelle, the long past former NFL commissioner. And I was there at the press conference when he talked about parity in the league one day. I said, did we have parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y, or do we now have parody, P-A-R-O-D-Y? And I think we're at the P-A-R-O-D-Y stage now, Bob. I mean, that's my thought, and I'm holding on to that one because what I'm seeing out there, this is not high-quality football. Perfect example. Let's take a look at what's going to happen Thursday. Here's a classic example of what I'm talking about.
I know.
You got a quick turnaround game for Denver against a San Diego team that Denver, in the last couple of years, has had fits with. They do not play well against this team. That game's in San Diego, right? If I'm right, that game is in San Diego.
I think it is in San Diego.
And if that game's in San Diego, now we'll find out how good Peyton Manning and them are, because they're going to have to put up some points. Because Antonio Gates kills them down the middle. He kills them down the middle. Now, TJ Ward, that defense is better. But we're going to find out. They're going to get tested this week, Bob. And my feeling is that on Thursday.
At Denver.
It's at Denver? Nah, they got a shot then. No problem. But if it's at Denver, I'm all right. But it's still going to be a game because San Diego just plays them real well. Now we're going to find out how good Denver really is. Because what are they, 5-2?
Yep.
6-1? You're fighting for that AFC West spot. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I like that parody bit there, and
You can use it tonight if you want, or tomorrow.
I will steal that. Because it's what I've said in the past, and it kind of ticked a lot of Patriot fans off at the time, and that is, if you have a lot of mediocrity in the league, and that's what their goal is, then you only have to be a little bit better than mediocre to be the Super Bowl champion.
You got it.
And I think that is a negative on the league, that when we want to look at greatness, we want to look at champions, we want to see two great teams battling it out, or maybe 8 great teams in the earlier rounds of the playoffs, and not knowing who can win and the whole bit. And instead, you've got like these middle of the pack type teams, and we're not seeing the same level of play.
No.
And,
right,
and we're also not seeing 72-0 college games either. So there's good and bad to it.
But think about this, Bob.
Well, but hang on a second. I get to say a word here. Okay?
Excuse me. Calm down, Mr. Ego.
No,
All you had to do
Mr.
is just tap and
Mr.
say you
Ego.
wanted to
I'm
talk.
Mr. Ego?
All you had to do is cop and remember.
I'm Mr.
Excuse me,
Ego?
we're on TV. Don't act silly. Just
Not
make your
silly.
point. Get in and make your point, okay?
Is this Phillip Rivers MVP season? That's the question I want to know. 17 touchdowns, only 3 INTs, and he's...
No.
Well, okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
What do you
no,
think?
I'm saying no, Bob. You can say whatever you want to say.
Well, I'll tell you, San Diego is one of the biggest surprises to me this year, and the fact that he's playing as well as he is. But I'll admit to you, I hadn't considered an MVP candidate to this point, and I would not have put Phillip Rivers on the list. But you put him out there, and I go, all right, why not? We'll take a look at that. But, at this point in the season, to me, there's Aaron Rodgers, there's Peyton Manning, there's Tony Romo, for crying out loud.
How about DeMarco Murray?
Andrew Luck.
DeMarco Murray, sure.
Andrew Luck.
Can I tell you, like, I'm a bit of a stat geek and stuff, and the idea that he's rushed in 100 yards or more in 7 straight games to open a season seems to be the most insignificant stat I've ever heard, and also a bit surprising. It's like, really, nobody's ever done that. It doesn't seem like that big a deal, and so, good for him. It's great, but 100 yards nowadays, I don't know. A good back can do that in his sleep, I think.
Particularly and the way how the game is spread out, and you're running in between the tackles, and there's 5 or 6 in the box instead of 8. If I see 7 or 8 up there, we're throwing. If I see less than that, we're running. I mean, and remember, you're trying to... The one good thing about him, Bob, he was humble. Please don't even mention my name with Jim Brown. Don't even mention my name with him.
But then you think to yourself, Jim Brown didn't do that 8 times in his career?
Yeah, I sit back and listen to all this gibberish, and I just laugh. But you mentioned Phillip Rivers. Still makes the big mistake. He made the big mistake against Kansas City yesterday. He's not there. He can't be an MVP candidate unless they run on an 11-game winning streak or something, or they just run away with the AFC West. He's not that good a quarterback. Phillip Rivers has started to develop in the last couple of years, Bob, but he still makes critical mistakes in the big moments of games. He has not won that premier game where he's going to put you into the AFC Championship, which they were a couple of years ago, but that was LaDainian Tomlinson. That was the team. You think, as you mentioned, I consider him as an MVP. When I'm looking at Rodgers and I'm looking at these guys, I don't even put Phillip Rivers better than Stafford from Detroit. I don't put him better than Colin Kaepernick from San Francisco. And I definitely don't put him better than Joe Flacco from Baltimore.
No, Jimmy, I think that you're right in a general sense, what we know of these guys and their careers at this point. But if you look at them over the first half of this season, then he's better than those guys you just mentioned.
I don't think so. You need to look, because I'm
telling you better than them.
I'm telling you right now, Bob, the Ravens are a team that everybody better be keeping their eyes on. I'm telling you, they do not want to play these guys.
No.
Their defense is rounded where they want it, and now they have a deep threat in Steve Smith on the flank along with Torrey Smith. No. This is not a team that people want to match up with, Bob Halloran. You just don't want to play them. And Flacco, he's proven he can win.
You're talking to me a little bit about Denver, Baltimore, San Diego. Where do you put the Patriots in the AFC?
Huh, I don't
they
put
in the top
them.
five?
Okay, you mentioned
Yes,
three.
they're in the top 5.
Why?
They're in the top 5.
Why?
Why?
Go ahead. Why? Just give me. Okay, who's your top 5 then?
All right, so
I'm glad you asked that
Denver,
question, Bob. Go ahead, Denver.
Denver, Baltimore.
Yep.
I still think San Diego's got to be considered until
Okay.
Thursday
Look,
night.
even if you want to give them San Diego, go ahead with San Diego.
And the Patriots are in there. And wait, now I'm going to go to my notes because
Go
I
ahead.
had the
Not
power
a problem. I
rankings.
don't need to go notes
just
because I
wanna
know what
make
my eyes
sure-
have seen. But go ahead.
I think the Colts.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Colts better. Kansas City, if they play them
No.
again in Kansas City, no.
No, but
Kansas
they're not
City
gonna
would
play
do
them in
better.
Kansas City.
Excuse me, you don't know that.
No, I don't know
You
that.
don't know that.
You're right, I don't know
There's
that.
no guarantee that that's not going to happen.
Correct.
I'm saying, like Bob said earlier, when are they going to go on the road and have to win those tough road games against a Baltimore, against Indianapolis?
Well, they got it
have
now.
them on their field. They're supposed to make it a game
All right, good.
or win.
Well,
but
don't-
what I'm saying is, once you get to the playoffs, if they evade the wild card game, Bob, and they get the second round on their field, it's still going to be AFC Championship game, more than likely, on one of those 4 other teams' fields. Now, are they good enough to go in those places and win with it on the line? Not unless they play out of their absolute ever-living minds.
Well, I think they're going to
No, I
get
agree
better
with you,
too.
but
I know.
I agree with you, but even with that, you're putting them in the AFC Championship game.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm
on
saying
the
if
road.
they got there. I'm saying even
Right.
if they got there. I'm not putting them
Let
in
me
that
ask you a
game.
question. All right, everybody, both you guys, time out. I get to say something. All right? If the Patriots play host to the AFC Championship game, does that not change the equation?
Well, the main reason for that, Jimmy, not only that it's a home game, but somehow or another they earned it. And if they did that by going 13-3 or 14-2, I'd say, yeah, that changes everything.
Yeah,
Right. And
but
by
you're
the
still
way,
going to
they
need 2
can.
upsets in there. You're going to need some upsets
Absolutely.
in there for that to happen, Bob.
It could still
Right,
happen.
they're going to have to go 5-1 over these next 6.
Yep.
And then close it out strong and play games at home during the playoffs. I just don't know that it's possible, and I just don't know that it's probable. Because I don't think they're as good as San Diego right now. I don't think they're as good as Denver. I think they could struggle against Chicago. I mean,
I do too. Because I think
they
Chicago's
just
going to
struggled
be.
against the Jets,
Yeah.
and Chicago's better than them.
And I think
So-
Chicago is hot from losing that game yesterday.
They are very
and they're going
upset.
to come in here angry.
And
They're
they have
gonna say,
won
look,
more
we gotta
road
go
games.
play.
They've won more road games than they have home games, the Bears.
We
But I
got
still
to
think the
start
Patriots,
because
Patriots will win.
I heard almost tore the locker room apart yesterday. They're saying, look, we got to start playing. I mean, this is getting serious. These fans are ready to burn the stadium down yesterday. We lose to Miami. Miami? I mean, they were like, we're 3-4.
Yeah,
Now-
who loses to Miami?
yeah. What,
Yeah.
yeah. What does that say? Exactly.
In the first game of the year on the road. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
But
hey, Bob, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule now that you're a full-time guy on Channel
I'm
5.
very busy. I'm so busy. Today I played golf, exercised, and watched my daughter swim.
Excellent. That's a good day.
Life is really tough being a full-time guy.
That's a good. You'll be ready for an Uggs commercial before you know it. You know.
That's good, though. But thanks. I enjoy this conversation, too.
Always, and you are
This is
welcome
fun.
out here any Monday, of course,
This is
and
fun.
just let me know because I know that the two of you guys could go at it, and I'll just referee. It'll be fun.
God bless you,
All
my
right,
friend. Listen,
sounds
Bob,
great.
before you go, one final question, because this one still sticks in my craw. For all the times that I've heard that Notre Dame has gotten all these breaks over the years, Notre Dame, it was a Notre Dame call. What the heck do you think happened in Tallahassee on Saturday night? If that, now let's flip the script before you answer. Let's say that's Florida State driving down the field, and they score that touchdown with 30-something seconds left to play. Do you honestly think the referees would have had the courage to make that call?
That's exactly what I thought when they
Thank
made the
you.
call.
Oh,
There's
man.
no way
No.
they do
Wow.
that if teams
Oh.
are reversed. There's no way. And quite honestly, and I'm not a referee. I see what I see, and my experience tells me some things. I didn't think it was a legit call anyway. Most of the
No.
people I follow on Twitter say, well, at least it was a pick, it was interference, and you hate to see a call made like that. And I'm going, I didn't really see it. I saw
No,
a crowd
I
of
didn't
guys
either.
running together, and one guy being wide open to the right-hand side. So I thought it was a bad call.
Thank
The worst of homerism, and you're right. when you talk about courage, there's no way they do
Yes.
that if Florida State is
No,
scoring game-winning
no.
touchdown.
No, but think about
That's right.
this. Think about this, though, Bob. Here's another key point, too. People keep forgetting Florida State blew the coverage. They blew the coverage.
Right.
Don't referees. I don't need you to help them. David Robinson's son, Corey, was wide open. They called
You're right.
the play, they had it right, and all of a sudden you come up. If you want to make that call, why haven't they made that call in the whole game? Florida State was doing the same thing. Florida State was setting picks. They were running two guys and freeing one. And you wait to get to an exciting game, which clearly, Bob, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan, Notre Dame outplayed them. They outplayed them for most of the game. And to take it away from those young guys like that, it just sickens my stomach when I think of college football that it reaches that level, because that's like money. That's like a whole bunch of money on the table. We want to keep Florida State in the Final Four. We want to keep these guys here, and so forth and so on, because their defense got gashed. Notre
Yeah, I don't
Dame
usually
gashed their defense.
I don't usually like to go to the officials are in the bag kind of a thought, and
don't,
the
but
conspiracy
I'll tell
and the
you,
whole bit.
I worried about that one.
But that one, I don't know if I was ever going to go there. That one was really
Oh, yeah.
suspicious.
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't believe it.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Who gets paid more, the players or the referee? Ooh, sorry, neither one. Anyway, hey, Bob, as always,
Bob,
I
thank
enjoy
you.
your comments and enjoy your family, and we'll see you soon.
Good. Talk to you later.
All
God
right.
bless. Stay safe.
All right, bye-bye.
That's Bob Halloran from Channel 5, WCVB TV, and I'm going to do that, and there it goes. That's magical. We can phone calls. Anybody want to make a phone call? No, I'm only kidding. 508-909-5962. That's 508-909-5962. That is the number to call. Joe, don't call the number. Although it might be funny, actually. People in the
We'll know
audience.
whether it works or not.
That's
we
right.
have somebody making a 6-foot phone call.
That's right. He's
literally
right there.
6 feet away.
We
But
gotta
think
get the tin can out.
Think about this, though. When you consider how important this national championship picture is right now, Jimmy, and that game, you've got to sit there and shake your head and say, wow, you mean nobody gave the Fighting Irish a chance. They went in that hostile territory and they started marching up and down the field. They just beat them. And nothing, even Bob Halloran just said, it makes you think, is something wrong with this game?
Yeah,
Well, what was I watching for 59 minutes to see this happen at the end?
When this happens with referees, I always ask this question. I say, if the referee kept that flag in his pocket, would the uproar be that a call wasn't made?
No.
Exactly.
Because half the fans in the stand didn't even see it. You heard a hush come over that stadium when Corey Robinson caught that ball and stepped in the end zone, and the Notre Dame players were jumping up and down. There was a hush over the stadium. There was like a delay for a couple of seconds, and there's a flag. It's like, there's a flag. I'm telling you, it reminded me of a game years ago when Maurice Clarett played at Ohio State, and they were playing Miami for the national championship. It was around 2003 or something. Anyway, they go to overtime. One of the most thrilling college championship games you could have ever asked for. Miami takes the lead. Looks like they're going to win. There's a 4th down call, right? A 4th down call. Ball is thrown away by Ohio State. The Miami players are jumping up. Yes, it's over. And then out of nowhere comes this mysterious flag. It's like it floated down from like the 9th deck. Boink. As soon as I saw the flag, I said, what is this? They were already celebrating. Now, all of you who saw the game, you should remember this. The Miami players were, again, jumping up and down. They even turned around and said, what's that? They made that call. Ohio State goes in and wins the game. And to this day, nobody's truly been able to explain that call. And that was for a national championship. And, I know Miami was not liked. And believe me, a lot of their reputation preceded them. They were a crazy college football program, out of control, wild. But that was an exciting game that went to overtime, and it should not have ended on that note. That ball was clearly overthrown, no chance to be caught, and all of a sudden, well, wait a minute. Maybe we need to have one more play. I'm going to throw the flag. And this is what infuriates fans, and it should infuriate people who bet money. This is one of the reasons why I will not bet money.
By the
on
way,
a game.
you're right again, 2003.
Something stick in my mind.
2003.
Something stick in my mind.
And which bowl was it? Pick a bowl, any
I think it
bowl.
was Orange Bowl, was it? I think we're playing the Orange Bowl. If I'm
Fiesta
right.
Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl. Okay. Yeah. Fiesta Bowl. Okay. Yeah, but I'm
Pick
just
a
saying.
bowl, any bowl.
I'm just saying. Jimmy, those
That was
are
the days when they was actually called the Fiesta Bowl as
Yeah.
opposed to the Doritos Bowl or the Sun City Detroit Bowl, Motor City.
But Jimmy, think about it. Think about this. You let a national championship be decided on that final call, which was a bad call. And even some newspapers around the country wrote the same thing. And a lot of those newspapers did not like Miami. Because Miami was like, they were like, oh gosh, these are the convicts. We really don't want this program to win. And there's pristine Ohio State. We need to give them a 5th down. Let's try a 5th down. And if it hadn't worked, let's give them a 6th down. Because we're going to figure out a way so they can win this game. And that's what it looked like. It just did.
Well, I'm going to actually enlighten Mr. Myers here a little bit because guess what? You can actually watch that game right now.
Oh, no, I don't need to say that again.
I know,
Believe
but
me.
you could actually watch that game
Okay, go
right
ahead.
now. I just wanted to show it to you. I just, thought I'd throw it up there. You know what?
Thank you.
Look at this.
I
YouTube.
need to be reminded of this.
It's YouTube.
Yeah, I need to be reminded. And didn't William McGahee break his leg in that game, if I'm right, too? So they played without their best back, if I'm right.
I would not
'Cause-
doubt your brain.
I think Melvin Bratton was one of the key running backs. But if memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure that it was McGahee. Somebody broke it was a running back. I think it was McGahee. Broke his leg in that game.
Well-
So they lost their top running back, take the game to overtime. They're the number 1 ranked team against the number 2 ranked team, because Ohio State was ranked number 2 then, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Ohio State's ranked number 2, and they come up and win. I mean, who would know that several years later Jim Tressel would be shown the door because of the craziness in his program? Remember the tattoos? Remember all the money and all the crazy stuff that was going on at Ohio State?
That was not a great time for Ohio State.
It was
let's
not.
just say.
It was not, and they're still trying to recover from it.
Hey,
Truth
let me
be
ask
told.
you a question, Jimmy, since we're talking college football and we are in a playoff season for the first time. Do you think the
Finally.
committee,
Finally.
wait a second, do you think the committee is going to take into effect that Notre Dame got jobbed in that game?
If Notre Dame runs the table,
They
Jimmy,
run the table, right?
If they run the table, they're going to find a way to get them in that Final Four.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to get them. And what they need to do
Because
is
they
need to
travel
find
well.
a way. They need to find a way to get them back against Florida State. I don't care if it's the semifinals. Let these two teams play one more time. Now remember, the best part about this, Jimmy, on a neutral field. They're going to play on a neutral field.
Right.
Now, that neutral field is going to be loaded with Notre Dame fans, because you just mentioned the key. Notre Dame travels well. Notre Dame brings big money to the table. For years, Notre Dame's been overrated. For years, Notre Dame has not been that good. But that team showed me something Saturday night, that they may be able to play with some of the better teams. Now, do they get by Southern Cal? Do they get by some of the tough games they have coming up? I don't know.
BC beat Southern Cal.
That's true. But it still boils down to the fact they cannot have another. If they go the rest of the way, you have Mississippi State. There's no guarantee that they're going to finish in the end, for one reason, because somebody's got to play Alabama in the SEC championship
Right.
game.
The SEC is
And
going to beat
that
each other up.
means they're going to get killed. They're going to kill each other. So you have Florida State, and Florida State, let's say they run the table, and they're there. Okay, fine. You still have
That's
Ole
one.
Miss. I'm still not sold on Ole Miss. Okay, there's Bama. There's Auburn, the outside game. But remember, too, Auburn and Alabama have to play that game. It's called the Iron Bowl.
The Iron Bowl.
And if memory serves me correctly, last year, somebody returned a kickoff the length of the field
That was incredible.
to take away Alabama's chance to win 3 straight national championships. They're still talking about that. That is in the annals of Alabama-Auburn history, that they will never forget that. Missed field goal, remember? Missed field goal, return the length of the field.
Return the length of the field.
So those
good.
6 teams, fine. You still have Notre Dame down there around 7th or 8th. 2 of these teams are going to lose a game, Jimmy. They're going to lose, which means if Notre Dame wins, they're going to climb back up there. And you want them there. As an independent, you want them in that, particularly from what you saw. Because, Jimmy, I'll be honest with you, I did not think they were that good. I figured that Florida State would handle them. Well, Notre Dame flipped the table and proved everybody wrong. They handled Florida State.
And we'll get to see it again.
That'd be fun.
I think I'll actually watch
That
the Final
would
Four
be
of college
fun.
football as opposed to the World Series.
I would definitely. Oh, don't leave it. How much time do we have left? Because we're
got
talking
plenty
about
of
the
time.
World
We
Series.
got plenty of
okay,
time
you
left.
get me worried about this.
Wait,
I don't want to
see
talk
this
about the
button
World
right here?
Series thing. I just
Push
did.
it.
But it wouldn't. Okay,
There it is.
7:38. That's fine.
7:30. You
Okay,
okay?
go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead. What else?
Who cares about the World Series?
do.
Do you care about the World Series?
do.
Washington Nationals fan
I
out
do.
there, Mr. C?
I do.
No? No? You do, Joe?
I do.
Which team do you like identify with?
Classic. It is the fall.
Kansas City because they
Classic.
haven't lost the whole time?
It's the fall.
It's a
Classic.
great story. It's a great story, and San Francisco, I don't know. You know what? I think baseball was better when you had
Francisco
those
is the
power teams. This is the first
third
time. Did you
in
know?
5 years this team has played for.
I
a
know,
world
I know.
championship.
Do you know-
This is a battle-tested team.
Do you know that since
They know how to play.
1993, there hasn't been a Yankees or Red Sox team in the playoffs?
Even
1993?
in the playoffs.
In any play? No, in other words, this is the first year they weren't in any
Oh,
playoffs.
weren't in any playoffs.
Weren't
You
in
said-
any playoffs.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right,
Weren't
yeah.
in any
All right,
playoffs.
yeah, what
I mean,
happens?
we know they were in playoffs.
It happens.
I
It
just
happens.
throw it out
Both
there.
of them stank this year. They weren't that good. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You mean, you got to face the facts, and plus, you dump ship immediately around All-Star break when you started saying, okay, we're getting rid of everybody. We're getting rid of Lackey. We're getting rid of we're getting rid of the pitching staff, basically the guts of the pitching staff. And I'm telling you, John Lester, that one I will not understand for a long, long time, because you could have. Now you have Kansas City, who 3 years ago was a desert. I mean, you go to, please don't trade me to Kansas City. Trade me anywhere. Trade me to Seattle before you trade me to Kansas City. But now that organization is put together, the nucleus of a wonderful young team, that
Yeah.
this should be exciting, Jimmy. And
They're
and
gonna
you're
bring
saying
Barry
that you
Bonds
don't
back
care.
to throw out the
It
first
does-
ball?
Who cares?
Right, exactly.
when
Who
you
cares?
say-
We
but
keep going
when-
back to that.
But when you say you don't series,
I mean, I care that
Hey.
who will win, and that's great,
Well, we
and I
just-
watch the highlights,
we
but I'm not
disagree.
changing my life to watch any of these guys play baseball.
I'm covered. I must be sitting there watching every inning.
3.5 hours
It
of
doesn't make a
baseball.
difference.
It's way too long.
I love
no big names.
I love it.
Pitching and defense.
I
Let's
love
have
it.
8 different pitchers
Because
in 9 innings.
somewhere down in history, we're going to be talking about this one day. And I want to know, I saw every inning of every game. I want to know what changed the series around, where the momentum shifted. Just like last year in the playoffs, when neither the Red Sox or the Cardinals could even pick the damn ball up and make a play, when they were throwing games away left and right.
I'll read
And
the
all
book.
Red Sox, and all the Red Sox fans want to say, oh, they outplayed them. No, they didn't. 4 games in that series, in that 6-game series, were given away. 4. And that's rare that you ever see that in the World Series, where both teams make enough errors, base running blunders, bad fielding, the missing cutoff.
It made for a great story.
Okay,
It
well-
made for a great story.
Okay,
And
fine.
it was exciting baseball because
So
it involved the
who's to
team I
say-
care about.
Who's to say this won't be a great series? You're talking about 2 teams that are not from the biggest markets.
They're boring.
No, they're not.
They have no big power hitters. There's no big names
Jimmy,
on
stop
these
saying that.
teams.
Stop saying that, Jimmy, because,
I don't
because,
care
because,
about
because
these
you're
teams.
making people think you really don't know anything about the game.
No, that's
the
not
game,
fair.
There's
That's
a
just-
beauty to the game, Jimmy.
And that's why the Red Sox could do what they did last
the
year.
pitching, the defense, we're going to see what happens. Now, if you don't want to watch it, that's great for you. But don't say, I don't care.
Well, I
Okay,
don't care.
you
That's
have
why I'm not going to
Okay,
watch.
Fine. Then don't watch.
I mean,
Don't watch.
That's my point.
Don't watch.
I'm not going to watch
Don't
because
watch.
I don't care.
Don't watch.
It's just not my thing, all right? I think
And I'm
baseball's
sure
in a
there may
lot
have
of
been
trouble.
some people that felt the same way last year when the Red Sox were there.
That's okay.
I don't care. I
That's
don't
okay.
watch the Red Sox.
It's still a greater story. Last year's story of the Red Sox was a great story because of the marathon thing and how they all rallied around their beards and all that. That was a great story.
Okay.
I root for a great story. Now, granted, Kansas City, great story because they haven't lost in the playoffs yet. That's a great story.
First team to go
You know,
8-0.
Still's not going to compel me to watch the game. I'm tired of baseball. It's too long. It's too boring. They let too many specialized pitchers in, and they don't have enough power. That power has been taken out of the game. They took away those drugs, and now nobody's hitting home runs. You know, what can I tell you? Bring back the steroid era. That's what we want.
Oh, gosh.
Tom Kelly. I'm on Tom Kelly's bandwagon here. I totally, I don't care what they do.
Get it.
I don't
It
care
just
what they
doesn't.
do.
Okay, fine.
They have to put
Fine.
more power in this game.
Fine.
Lower the mound. Can they lower the mound?
Yes.
Would that be
they
good?
are thinking of all of these things. The
Five
new
strikes?
commissioner, the new five strikes. We're not going to 5 strikes. No. We've altered. There'll be enough out 5
Pitch
strikes.
clock.
Well, not
Pitch
only
clock.
That, no, okay, pitch clock's fine.
I want a
But
pitch
hold
clock.
Hold on. You said 5 strikes.
Yeah.
Some hitters are getting 5 right now anyway.
That's right.
Dustin Pedroia gets 6.
Well, because he's so small.
It doesn't make a difference. He's still getting 6 strikes. So here. Strike. No. If I don't swing, it's not a strike. Do you know how good that would be? If you could play baseball and say, I don't care what Felix Hernandez, King Felix, throws over the plate. If I don't swing at it, it's not a strike. Man, you should hit 280 with a bad wrist, or 290 or 300. Certain guys get certain calls. See, I am going to look at the strike zone in this series. I'm going to look at how
Do you like the
umpires
box?
call. Yeah, I'm
Fox
definitely going to be
box?
looking at it. I'm going to
Fox
definitely
box.
look at it and see how the game is called. Because, see, okay, you said you don't care. I'm
I
still
don't
a
care.
lover of history in the fact that historically, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And there are fans in Kansas City. If we were doing this show in Kansas City, I would love for us to have a live audience of Kansas City fans sitting out there and say, he doesn't care. No, don't kill him, please. I'd have to
They
jump
can
in
kill
front
me
of you to
inside.
save you.
No,
To save you. Or San
here's the
Francisco.
thing, I respect-
They'd be throwing,
but
hold
Jimmy,
on.
hold on.
They'd be throwing stuff at
I-
us, and I'd probably get hit.
But I respect the hometown fan. You probably would. Yeah, I respect the hometown fan to pull for their hometown team. I'm not going to deny that.
I just love the
right?
game, Jimmy.
I just think baseball
love the
is in
game.
a lot of trouble. I just don't think they don't have people under the age
Believe
of
me,
25 going to
with
games.
You. I agree with you. I know that there are problems in baseball. And Manfred, the new guy, whoever the new
Rob
commissioner-
Manfred.
Rob Manfred.
Oh,
right.
I'm
Okay.
really excited about him as the commissioner.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I have to look at what changes they're going to be compelled to make. They don't make changes in baseball because they always feel the grand old game will take care of itself. No.
No.
The grand old game is
Their
in trouble.
audience is
As you
dying
mentioned,
off.
You need a pitch clock. You need to stop the batters from stepping out the box after every pitch. There's several things that I've looked at to say, look, you have to change. You have to lower the mound. You have to.
They
And
need
if
to
you
bring
don't
the
want to
long ball
juice the
back.
players, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You want to juice the players?
I don't want to juice the players.
Juice the bats.
Juice the bats. Now
Juice the
we're
bats.
talking.
Thank you, ladies
There
and
you go.
gentlemen. I got it figured out already. Juice the bats and juice the ball. Make the ball even tighter than
I
it
just
is
want
right
baseball
now.
to be exciting
Tighter
again.
than it is right now, Jimmy. It's almost like a golf ball now. Make it even tighter, and you'll see balls jumping out of the stadium.
We
See,
wanna see
remember,
that.
as quiet as
How about
as quiet
using
as
some of
it's
those
kept. You may-
All-Star
no,
game balls,
no.
the home run derby
Yeah,
balls?
Yeah.
Let's use those
Yeah.
balls.
I'm
They're
just-
juiced.
there you go. I'm just saying that here's a classic example that your point can be made when you look at.
Thank you.
If you want power back in the game,
I want
and
power
without
Getting
pumping
all-
up guys,
all right,
whatever.
all right.
I'm saying you take the equipment and you make the equipment different. You make the bats like a maple net.
You're not going to bring them in as aluminum bats.
No,
though.
no,
aluminum bats.
no.
All
You'll
right,
kill
just-
pitchers.
I
I don't want any
thank you.
pitchers killed.
Hey,
Please.
they're already
It's
getting
tough enough-
killed. They're
Exactly.
already getting
it's,
killed.
It's tough enough ducking line drives now. But what I'm saying is that if you make the maple bats even harder and the balls tighter, you'll get balls flying out the stadium. You will get balls flying out the stadium. And then you're gonna have little Punch and Judy hitters hitting 20 home runs a year.
Bring back Brady Anderson.
Okay. If that's what you want, so be it. But I just think
I just want to see.
There's a
I want
beauty.
baseball to be
There's
fun
a
again.
beauty in
I
this
want to
game,
be able
Jimmy.
to sit here and say, I can't wait for the World Series to see these two teams go at it.
Okay.
I can wait for the World Series.
I
Thank
cannot
you very
wait
much for the
to
Royals
see
and Giants.
These two teams go at each other. They weren't picked to be there. No one thought that either one. Very few people thought.
Nobody.
Well, no.
Outside of Kansas
Everybody
City and San
outside of
Francisco.
Kansas City and so somebody did think that. But besides those two towns, when they both got into the playoffs, believe me, everybody thought, number one, neither one of them may get out of the play-in game.
Yes, that's right.
And Kansas City
Did.
was trailing Oakland by what, 3-4 runs in the
was-
late innings.
That was great.
And came back and won. You can't
I
tell me
watched
that
the
wasn't
last
exciting.
inning. That
But
was
you
exciting.
Can't tell me
No,
that wasn't
it was
exciting.
exciting.
Okay,
And
San
I can
Francisco.
see
wait a
it
minute.
on
San
ESPN
Francisco.
Sports Center.
San Francisco basically one pitch in that game. One pitch, the grand slam home run. That changed the whole game. Changed the whole game. And from your shortstop, Brandon, who never hit a home run in his life, he hits a grand slam home run. I'm going to myself, whoa. This whole series just turned around by a light-hitting shortstop hitting a grand slam home run. Game's over. You can just wrap it up with Bumgarner on the mound. Bingo. And
Again,
I'm going to myself,
another problem with baseball. It's so specialized now. You bring in guys in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. They're throwing 95 to 100 miles per hour. Where is the come from behind stories in baseball?
Excuse me.
I know it
If
happened.
memory serves me correctly, Kansas City did come back.
I know, it did.
And they had guys from Oakland throwing 90, and it didn't make a difference. Somehow this team found a way. That's the story. You want a
right.
great story.
I want a great
Man,
story.
we're down by
I'll read the
4
book.
runs. We're down by 4 runs going into the 8th inning, and we're saying to ourselves, oh, you can start pack those trunks over there. You can start moving our stuff out because we're leaving Oakland and we're headed home.
Yeah, well, you know what? Good.
Pittsburgh.
I'll read the book.
Pittsburgh the same way.
All right.
Pittsburgh, and you didn't
I
think that
like
either
it. I like
one of these
Pittsburgh.
teams would
Right.
be there. They won wild card games on the road to get to where they. And then when San Francisco played Washington, I said to myself, Washington's not ready. They're
And
too
Nats
young.
mentioned.
They're too young. Washington's not ready. They're not ready for this.
Well, wait a second. Didn't the manager leave Jordan Zimmer in too long or something?
Yeah.
Wasn't that? I mean,
But
took him out. I mean, he took him out.
They took him out, but it still
Right?
didn't make a difference.
Not,
Jimmy.
Carl.
You're talking
That's good.
about
Thank you.
Jimmy. Okay, you want a story? Battle-tested team against a team that's starry-eyed, that has the whole baseball world talking and excited, saying this. Think about this. 6 weeks ago, who truly knew, unless you're like me and you covered the game, who knew Moustakis, his name? Couldn't even say Moustakis. Who knew
I thought he was a
Eric
Greek soccer
Hosmer?
player.
Wait a minute, who knew Eric Hosmer? Who knew
Hosmer
Infante? Who knew Lorenzo Cain? Who knew these guys? Who knew the Asian right fielder? These guys are running around making catches like you wouldn't believe. These guys are jumping over the fence, making great catches. I'm saying every time they did something, I said, oh no. This is one of those things, like you said, you can read the book, but what a story it would make.
Yes,
let's
I agree.
say they won 4. Let's say Kansas City swept their way, and no other team has ever done that. Now you have a story of great magnitude. Not that they'll do it, but I'm just saying you have a story of like a Rudy story. It's something that you wouldn't even conceive of. How did this team go 12-0? How did this team get from here all the way to here? And that's what makes it exciting, Jimmy.
I will say that it does separate baseball from other sports because a team can get all the
Yeah,
breaks and
and get
play the
hot.
defense because it's the only game where the defense puts the ball in play. All right, they give the ball to the pitcher.
Yep.
He's on defense, and
Yep.
it's up to the offense. But you know
Think
what?
about- think
Still
about
not
this.
enough offense.
Think
I'm
about this.
sick of baseball.
Think about
I'm
this.
tired of it.
Think about
I'll
this.
see you in spring training.
Think about this. I'm going to leave you with this one. As great as that game was back at that time, in 1954, the Giants played the
Even I wasn't born then.
Come on. The Giants played the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians
last time they were
won
in the World Series.
110 games that year.
More than they've
Bob
won in 5
Lemon,
years.
early win. I'm talking about Garcia, Freddie Garcia. They had some of the greatest pitching going. Willie Mays makes a catch in game 1 that turns the entire series around off Vic Wertz. They still play it to this day. They'll be playing it forever.
About 460 feet away from home plate.
And the
too.
Giants go from there to sweep the best team in baseball. In baseball, Jimmy. Speed up to
Baseball, Ray.
Wait a minute, hold on. Speed up to 1988.
Where's James Earl Jones when you
Hold
need
on,
him?
speed up to 1988. Dodgers against the Oakland A's. Kirk Gibson, home run, turns the series around. Dodgers beat a team that were overwhelming
Yeah, but
favorites
they
to
had
win that.
great names on that team. That was worth watching. There was you know what I'm saying? That's what I think is missing. The star
Okay.
power is missing from Kansas City and San Francisco. You appreciate the little guy. I get that. That's okay. I want to see the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball.
Chicks dig the long ball.
That's not even my. That's not even my quote.
It's not
right?
his
I don't
line.
even know.
He got it off TV.
I got
but
it
that's
off
right.
somewhere,
Major League
right?
Baseball. Major League Baseball used to do that. But
I have no idea.
I still think
You
there's.
can understand the balance here.
I still
Mr.
think
Serious.
there's an
Mr.
inherent
Not so serious.
there's an inherent beauty to this game
Yeah,
that supersedes the talent even that's on the field. It is it is America's game to a degree. It is the grand old game. It has that ability to keep you intrigued if you have that feeling inside of you from once you played as a child all the way into adulthood. And for somebody like me who's covered it and can and can start reciting great World Series, bad World Series, good World Series, in between World Series, yeah, I'm interested. And I'm going to be interested because I just think there's a fascination to watching that game. And regardless of what you think, a lot of America is going to be watching. It may not have great numbers, Jimmy, like you said. There may be a lot of people like you. So what? I don't care. I don't care about Kansas City. I
Right.
don't care about San Francisco. But
If there's a seventh game,
somebody's going to win.
if it goes to the seven games,
then everybody wants to watch it.
I'll
then
watch
everybody wants to come jump.
I'll watch
Johnny
the
come
last
lately.
few.
I'm gonna,
I'll
no.
watch a seventh game.
Okay, that's perfect. And you
I
know what I'm
love
gonna do?
I love seventh games.
And then you know what's going to happen?
One game
Jimmy,
takes all.
what happened in all 6 games? Okay, game 1 was decided like this: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To brief you on all
You
of
can
these
do that.
games to lead up to that.
I'll know what's going on. I'll watch the highlights and I'll read the
highlights.
recaps.
Okay.
I'm just not going to give up 3.5, 4 hours of my life to watch a World Series of two teams I don't care about. Yeah,
I'm
by the
gonna
way,
cover it.
glued
I'm
to the
gonna be
TV
involved
last
in
year.
it.
I
I'm
was glued.
going to be involved in it.
I was-
That's just us. That's the difference in us. Go
Glued.
ahead.
I was glued.
Go
There's
ahead.
quite a few
Okay,
differences
you're
in
done.
us.
You're done with baseball.
Thank
Go
God.
with something else.
All right. So this is going to flip you out, I think, because I'm going to segue.
Go ahead.
You see, James Young is
I'm
coming
looking at
back
the
for the
format.
Boston Celtics. He's back on Wednesday. That's one of my favorites. James Young, number 1 draft pick of the Boston Celtics. Thank you very much. Just like to throw it out there.
Now, Sean,
And-
ask me one question.
Yeah.
When do you show up with the young jersey? Just tell me that.
Oh no, that's in the works.
Oh,
In fact,
I know. Just tell me when.
Okay.
So I can get.
I want to get James Young on the show.
We'll get him
I
on
want
the
to
show.
call
That's
Jeff
not-
Twist.
that's
I
not
said
that-
I want to get him on the
Jeff
show.
Twist will get him on the show.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. And remember, that night it's going to be hard for you. We got to chain you to the seat, so you keep saying, "Say your name again. Say your name again. Say your name
Doesn't
again."
anybody call you Jimmy?
Does
That's going to be
anybody
my
call you
first. That's
Jimmy?
going to be my
Right, your
first
question.
question.
Anybody calls? Yeah, everybody calls me Jimmy. Okay, now that we're beyond that question, we'll be asking some serious questions in regards to this. They talk about Rajon Rondo coming back.
Yeah, that's it.
And
That's
being
in my
ready-
notes.
Being ready for game 1.
What's your opinion of Rajon Rondo? Is he uncoachable?
No, I think he's a talented player who is beyond himself. He thinks he's better than he is.
Not a max
And-
contract guy.
No.
He
No,
thinks
let's not-
he is.
Let's not get crazy.
But he
No,
thinks he is.
He's not. So, all right. So you could think that you could think whatever you want to think. That's the beauty of living in America. You can think whatever you want to think, but reality and what happens on that floor is if he's a max contract player, then the Celtics have to come out. They got to start the season like gangbusters. They got to run off about 10, 15 wins early. And then they have to be up there in their division and just beating the people that they are supposed to beat. Now, the Nets had them down big time yesterday. Came back and won again. That's exhibition. It all starts next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, when it's all for real. And we find out who are the contenders and who are the pretenders. He is not a max player. Yes, he has caused problems. And they, Wick Grousbeck and the ownership is more than willing to say, we want to keep him. You want to keep him until you figure out how Smart can play that position. Once you find out how well he can play that position, bigger, stronger guard, no knee problems or whatever, and we find out that this team can go without Rondo, then you have to try to market him. Where is he going to go to get a max contract? If he thinks he's a max player,
Right.
where is he going to go to get a max contract?
I have no idea. I have no idea, and I don't know what Danny's going to get for him at the trade deadline either.
Exactly. So if he goes to the trade deadline, you're better off trying to make that deal within this week, within a week before the season starts, and says, look, we're going to get some bad. We got a lot of Rondo fans out there. We're going to get a lot of crazy people calling him, why don't you trade him? Da, 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 da.
I don't think you're going to get that much of an outright.
If he will not listen to Brad Stevens, the head coach, if he won't listen to anybody, if he shows up the way he has and has caused some of the problems that he's caused, he's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to go anyway.
Well, he may have to go eventually anyway. But what are you going to get for him? Because there aren't 10 teams in this league, I'm talking about with impact talent, that I think is going to give up any of that impact talent for this guy. A weak outside shooter, a 60% foul shooter, a guy who cannot make clutch free throws, a guy who's not going to run the offense down the end of the game, a guy who's going to go for himself. No, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
All right, that's good. I knew you wouldn't see it that way, and we agree on that, by the way, just for the record.
Okay.
We don't have to disagree on everything.
Okay, works for me.
It sounds like the Tom Kelly's favorite hockey team, the Boston Bruins, are back.
They're not back.
Well, they're back enough. They got 4 goals against Buffalo, shut them out for nothing.
Okay, that's great.
Simon Gagne is there.
Simon Gagne.
Simon Gagne. Yep. Ryan Spooner, Seth Griffin. Get sent down to Providence today. Greg Campbell's back on Thursday. And here's the story I want to talk about, because I find it very, very interesting now. I think it's that the National Hockey League is going to get closer and closer. And then ban fighting. I want to make that very clear. I am not going to tell you that if they ban fighting from the game, it'll never be banned, because the game is too emotional, and there's collisions, and they're going to have fights in hockey. It's the nature of that game. However, it's the only game where you can fight and stay in the game. And I think if they change that and make it, if you fight, you are gone, that appeases both sides. I really believe it. I think they've missed the boat on this. I think that's what they need. Or as they say, boot.
Ladies and gentlemen, I made
you like that idea? See?
40 plus years ago.
And by the way,
when I first started in broadcasting,
do you know?
I would not do fighting highlights.
That's right. I was going to say that.
In Boston.
Never showed
People said, he doesn't know anything about the game.
Right.
I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. The hooliganism that fighting brings is dangerous to the game.
They've gotten away from that.
No.
They've done a good job
of
that. Yes,
Mike Milbury on the Hockey Network
a
couple of days ago made the following statement: fighting has got to go. Who fought more than Mike Milbury? Mike Milbury made a career out of getting into fights.
Well,
the bottom line, he
was a nasty kind of chippy player.
But he was a chippy player, but he
wasn't a Stan Jonathan or a Terry O'Reilly or a.
But he was right there with them. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. Think of this, please. This is one of the most beautiful games in the history of man and womankind.
Playoff hockey,
skating, puck handling, the view of the ice, how plays evolve, how men go 30 plus miles an hour on skates and make moves. And the ballet of this game alone makes it just breathtaking. Now, then you want to add an element that older hockey fans will, Jimmy, it's part of the game. I had this argument with Sam Pollock back in the early 70s when I first started in radio. Sam Pollock was the legendary general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. I had him on a talk show on WBZ radio that drew all kinds of ratings. I asked Sam at the time, who was running the Montreal Canadiens, and they were Stanley Cup contenders every single year. And he had a couple of fighters, John Ferguson and a few other guys. I said, wouldn't it be beautiful, Sam Pollock, if one day you didn't have to fight? Sam Pollock told me, you're right, Jimmy. One day, we may evolve in this game enough that we don't have to resort to dropping gloves, hitting each other on the head, and when the whole scare of HIV came in, you figured that would stop fighting because blood is being splattered amongst players. And the whole HIV thing with Magic Johnson, so it scared everyone in sports. That didn't stop fighting. The third man rule, which was critical to me. Once they put the third man rule in, that means if two players are fighting and a third person jumps into that fight, which they used to do all the time, third person would jump in, then you had 4 or 5 people on the ice fighting. You don't see that anymore. So don't tell me this beautiful game is not evolved. And don't tell me that I need to see guys out there throwing punches, goalies skating the length of the ice to meet at center ice and fight. Listen, that type of behavior is called assault and battery if you're standing on a street in America. And yet we show it to our children on a night-to-night basis and say, oh, that's part of hockey. No, it's not. No, it's not. And think of this. Mike Milbury himself got into a major legal hassle. While watching his son play, he decided to go get involved with a player who crashed into his son. Mike wound up in court and almost wound up losing his job because it was alleged that he punched this young kid, this young man, because I don't like to use the word
Oh,
kid.
he used that word.
This
You don't
young
like kid.
person, this young person. And the first thing I told when I heard it, I said, Mike needs to be taken off the NHL network. Simple as that. If you go to a hockey game with young people and you think because your child was, your young person was hit hard or whatever, and you're going to take this into your hand, something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. And think of this. If last but not least, let's look at the health factor. With the concussion syndrome situation the way it is, we can't allow this game to continue the way it goes, with people punching each other in the head, causing concussions, and creating situations that can cause serious injury. This game is dangerous enough with flying sticks, flying pucks, bodies hitting each other at tremendous speeds. You don't need to raise, you do not need to drop your gloves. And anyone that tries to convince me of that, I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me. When I see football players fight, they should be thrown out the game. I see baseball players fight, they should be thrown out the game. I see basketball players fight, they should be thrown out the game. The game is not called fighting. The game is called hockey.
All right, that was very good. And a great segue for our first guest. And I know Jamie is going to somehow or other figure it out so that it's not jarring to the people out there who might be watching. Mark Igo from MyHockeyLive.com is with us, and we're going to get to him in just a matter of seconds or so here, Mark. But I think your mic is on. His mic is on, Jamie? All right, so his mic is on. So you'll be like the voice from outside the frame.
And then you'll come into the
I've
front.
been there before.
And
I've been there.
and then you'll magically appear in just a matter of moments if he's able to do this, and he's working hard at
First
it.
and foremost, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for
having
taking
me.
up your time.
Appreciate it.
So this could be the room. Anyway, tell us a little bit about. Wait. I want to before you tell me a little bit about myhockeylive.com. I wanted to make sure all the cameras are set up right. Ah, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Soon enough, he'll switch it over there, and we can talk. And because you're closest to the camera, you look like you are bigger than us. And
that's right.
you are. Okay. It's okay. All right. Let's talk about myhockeylive.com. Tell me a little bit about the website, what your plans are, and how this whole thing came about.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. And Jimmy, thank you for having me here.
Pleasure.
MyHockeyLive.com will launch on November the 1st. We're really excited about it. State-of-the-art website that will come fully equipped with a mobile app. As you know, today, kids are on buses or commuting to and from rinks, so they have their smartphones with them regularly, as do the coaches now. Really what we've done over the past 8 years is develop communication tools for the coaches and the administrators so that they can have up-to-the-minute analytics or stats from the games that were played, scores, and then just last year we started really adding live streaming to the mix, and that's why we determined to cut over from MassHighSchoolHockey.com into MyHockeyLive.com this year to really increase our footprint within hockey all across the Northeast. Not just in Massachusetts, but we have schools like Del Barton down in New Jersey and Bridgeton Academy and schools like that
Now I'm excited. This
come to
sounds good.
Massachusetts and play the Malden Catholics or the Catholic Memorials or the St. Sebastians.
stuff.
And then, we did 42 games last year. Amazing. And Pat Serio, who is our cameraman, and Paul McNamara, who
That's
does.
Pat?
That's Pat.
Hey,
Serio,
good to
and,
meet him.
Paul McNamara over at the table was calling most of the games. We did a majority of those 42 games towards the end of the season around tournament time. And, they were coming in a lot faster than we could handle. And, we didn't really have the administrative staff in place to really manage it. But we had teams like Beverly High School that stepped up and, wanted all of their tournament games broadcast live from Stoneham Arena or wherever, or Falmouth Arena, or wherever we might have been. So we have now the infrastructure to do it properly. And looking forward to having you come on board to help us out and manage a lot of that, because that will be a huge undertaking. But I think we'll be able to do maybe 3 or 4 games a night, and maybe 10 games a week, and we're
awesome.
excited about it. And
That
every
is
team will have
awesome.
an individual mobile app. So if you're a Duxbury Dragon, you'll have a Duxbury Dragon right there on your smartphone. You click on the Duxbury Dragon app, and up comes your team page, your schedules, your videos. We'll, send mobile notifications that, your game time's at 7 p.m. Don't forget to tune in. And then obviously we'll be looking for advertisers and sponsors, right, to help fund the program.
Why did it take this long? Because other states, as you know, they have this. And I mean, I've always felt that high school sports it's one of the most incredible venues that we have in this country. As you mentioned, you struggled last year without infrastructure to get all of this done. Now, hopefully, you got a bigger staff. Yes, and you'll have some people who will come there and do commentary and so forth. But more importantly, why did it take so long?
Well, I think especially hockey, for instance, is a very regionalized sport, right? So, the football, the basketball, as you mentioned, if you go to California, you go to Texas, you go to Florida, Friday night lights, right? I mean, you're getting every football game, you're streaming every football game, you're getting thousands of people to show up for these events. So, in hockey, it's a bit of a niche, but it's a very loyal audience. I mean, these people are very passionate about their sport.
yes.
Most people that even, graduate from the high school game go on to play club hockey. And that's an area that we're looking at. My son played down at Mass Maritime, and we went down to Falmouth last year to do one of their games and things like that. So we see, a vast landscape here for hockey, for our ability to get out to various rinks, to do high school hockey, to do club hockey, to do prep school hockey, and things like that. The NFHS, Jimmy, the federation runs everything in regards to national. So there are, companies out there that do all of the tournaments, or the championship games, but don't necessarily follow the day-to-day games or
Will you get
the
blocked out
playing
on that?
games. We actually got hired, contracted to do the state tournament games last year
works. This
for a
definitely
company
works.
out of Connecticut. So, that was a good undertaking for us. Our full team was intact. It was a little bit of a different experience because, we thrive on kind of the live commentary that you two do, with Paul and I kind of
We comment?
commenting
We do?
back and forth and,
Comment?
and whatnot. But
We know how to fill time, don't we?
We fill time,
It's pretty
yes.
scary.
He's speaking for himself.
Yes,
I'm
of
going
course.
to
Yeah.
comment.
No,
I love
Jimmy,
watching.
I
the
walked
game.
away from you for 5 minutes. You just
Right.
kept going. It was a
Yes.
wonderful thing. That's a skill, by the way.
Right.
So, Mark, it's really because of how technology has come so far in such a short period of time, it allows people to do what we're doing here tonight at the Knobscott Cafe and allows you to go out and do hockey games. The live streaming process is one of the neatest things ever because basically you don't have to worry about, satellite time and, cables and all that stuff. You just show up with your phone or your iPad or your webcam like we're using here tonight, and off you go and broadcast. And I'm actually really looking forward to it. And perhaps if anybody's out there interested in becoming a play-by-play or color analyst, I know somebody who can train you. Hello. And hopefully we'll be able to do that because we'd like to provide you with as many crews as you could provide us with games.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the goal. We know the Coaches Association, the MIAA, welcomes the opportunity to promote the sport.
Yeah.
Not MIAA has kind of been resistant to video streaming over the few years. I've heard.
Has that
Right,
changed?
and it has changed. Yeah, now they're part of the National Federation high schools, and all of their tournament games are now streamed live, whether it's football, basketball, hockey. Obviously, we partaked in last year, so all of their sports are now being streamed, and they've been more than inviting to our team. Formerly MassHighSchoolHockey.com, now MyHockeyLive.com, to come into the games and set up, whether it's at Stoneham Arena or the Bog down in Duxbury. We've done a ton of games from all around the state. So, we want to be, I guess, more inclusive now that we'll have more depth to our team.
Do you have the studio component where you would have like a center?
We don't. We don't have a live.
Can you think of that?
I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right? I'll take care of
I
that.
love
In my dreams right now.
Hosting that would be fun because
But-
you could jump to 4 or 5 games.
That's right.
Yeah.
People will be sitting there going, I wonder
Right.
what's happening up in Shrewsbury.
Right.
Oh, we're going to Shrewsbury right now.
Right,
Boom.
right.
And you
That would
just
be very
type
cool.
into Shrewsbury. That would be, but you're
Right.
getting to that though, Mark, right?
I think we are. I
It's
think
a-
there's an interest in possibly doing that.
The thing is, you don't have to, allot $250,000 to build a TV studio. I built one right around the corner here for $25,000 5 years ago, and we did 1,500 hours of live web stream with young people at the controls.
Yeah.
So it can happen, and it doesn't have to break the bank. I do want to bring Paul in though.
Yep, Paul Spear from
Okay,
Framingham.
Paul Spear
Absolutely.
from Framingham High School.
Before he goes though,
Yeah.
Mark, very
I knew he'd
quickly,
get
young
always the
people,
last.
you'll have them involved in this too?
We are going to have young
High
people.
school?
We're going to have announcers. We're going to have color
Joe Braverman
commentators,
is
and we're
going
gonna
to
have
be
folks
one of your
behind
announcers.
the camera.
Beautiful.
So the young people will be very much involved with this
I like
through
this.
Jimmy's
So Mark,
Networks.
I like
Mark,
this,
I want
Mark.
you to,
Thank you.
I want you to go meet Mark Braverman and also
All right.
Joe Braverman over there because
We'll say hello
he's
to
going to
them.
be one of the voices for you.
Awesome. Great.
All right, Paul, come
All
on
right.
over. Thank
Take
you,
care,
Mark.
guys. Thanks for having me on.
Don't go far because we're going to go until about 8:30 or so.
Okay.
And we got it. Paul,
Gentlemen,
thank you
how
so
are
much
you?
for coming in
How
here.
are you?
All right, I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for taking your time.
And I agree with you. If you get in a fight in a hockey game, you should be thrown out,
That's
just
what
like
I
anything
said.
else. I agree.
And do you isn't
like
that
this man.
going to appease both? It's not going to. If they do that, that's not going to take fighting out of the game. It's just going to be the right message. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think if a guy like Mike Milbury sees it, Coach, it's going to happen for one reason. Because if nothing else, I'm looking at the concussion factor. Did you play?
without
You
a
played,
doubt.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody who's played this game knows when you're talking about hitting people, and they're going to hit people in the face and so forth. You're talking about a danger of doing some serious damage. You've seen broken jaws. You've seen knocked out teeth. I'm saying that the game is so beautiful. It doesn't need it.
Yeah, absolutely
It just,
not.
it's grown out of
And the
it.
majority of the fighting in the NHL now is it's staged. It's almost like a wrestling match, you know.
Right.
The players know each other off the ice. There's no dislike amongst
there's
them.
careers
It's
at
not
stake, and they know it.
absolutely. And so there are guys whose careers are built solely around that. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a really a place for it because the injury factor is the major thing.
And Kevin Miller got in a fight this past weekend, dislocated his shoulder, and now he's out of the Bruins
yeah,
lineup.
that's.
I mean, hello, that's an example right there.
I mean, times have changed, and I don't think it sends the right message to younger players, for certain. And
Coach, you coach this game. It's tough enough without it.
yeah, well, you see
You've
it
gotta be
mimicked.
tough to play this game.
I also I work for USA Hockey, and I
Yeah.
help coordinate the coaching education program within the state. And the message filters down to 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds that you're supposed to go out there and rough people up and get into fistfights, and you wonder why people don't want their children involved in the game. And so I really think philosophically it's something that has got to go.
Could you
Wow.
imagine?
Can I ask a
go ahead.
question? Do you mind? I appreciate that.
Will you stop doing that? Just jump in and ask the question.
Dominate. You're bullying me on the air, and people are upset. But they love me. We both.
No, you're not.
Yes,
You're
yes,
seeing
they
his
are.
ego. You're seeing ego at a check.
not-
Ask
no,
the question.
I see.
Ask the question.
Okay.
You're wasting
How
time.
how important is a youth development program in Framingham to your school's team?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. I mean, it's everything. We have a strong youth hockey program in the town of Framingham, but I think the one critical piece is that we have a municipal arena in town, and I think a lot of towns lack that municipal arena. If you have a municipal rink, you can provide youth hockey at a low cost. You can provide youth hockey to all the kids in town.
Then you build.
And I mean, we have a very strong, robust youth hockey program. But like I said, we're lucky. And in this town right now, there's a push Are we going to improve the rink? Are we going to keep it ready for the next 50 years? And so I really would love to see that happen
hope
because
so.
it's a critical piece in building the game. And
Well, what is the drawback? I don't see a
well,
drawback.
it costs money. And,
well, okay, what is the holdup? You can't get the people
Well,
who vote for all kinds of crazy things?
right now, yeah, it's going to go to
Don't
town.
vote for their children?
It sounds like hopefully it's going to go to town meeting in the springtime, and people are going to vote in favor of it.
We
That's
need
what
to
we
attend.
hope. Yeah, no, absolutely.
go out there
I mean,
and
you know,
attend
and
I
this
could go to a
our
town
town is really a unique place. It's because you know it's such a diverse town, and there's so many things we're doing to get kids who look a little different than I do to go out and play this game and participate in this sport. And we're right on the cusp of sort of making that happen here in this town. And 50 years from now, the game's going to look a lot different. I really hope we can preserve our arena.
How do you keep those prep coaches away from your best players?
You don't.
You just encourage the development of the player no matter
Yeah,
what.
I mean, we run 2 middle school teams in Framingham, and you know, one of our very best players last year went off to Belmont Hill, and you know, we had worked very hard with this young man to keep him involved in youth hockey, and you know, he had an opportunity. You know, a couple of our very best guys that grew up in town, and I established relationships with them, and they're from around the rink. But when a kid has what he thinks is a better opportunity, you know, you can't begrudge him, and you got to pat him on the shoulder and tell him, hey, go for it, make the most of it. It could be a life changer for you. But also, what we do simply is just to show kids their best opportunity can be in their hometown. Their best opportunity can be at Framingham High School. To come to a large, semi-urban, diverse school and be a big shot in a sport and do well academically, we try to tell everybody, if you want a private school education at a public school, Framingham High School is a place for you.
That's great.
Interesting.
Hey,
Interesting.
I'm recruited already, although I don't have any years of eligibility left. How about you?
No.
No.
And my skates were thrown away long ago.
You could be our enforcer.
Oh, no.
I think we established-
I have a tough enough time dealing with him.
Yeah.
I like to enforce him sometimes. But anyway, Coach, as you look at it and you see this development, I look at youth and the fact that the discipline it takes to be good at this game. And as you mentioned, if a young person is that much better, more power to you. I want you to go on. You may wind up playing at BU or wherever, but the beauty of what you're telling me is that every young person is not going to be a star hockey player, but the participation level of playing at this and growing with the game.
Yeah.
You got late bloomers. You get a lot of young people who, by the time they get to high school, they're ingrained in your system. That's the beauty of this to me.
In my role with USA Hockey, we tell everybody, and I tell every coach that I train, all you're doing is trying to set kids up for a lifelong love of the sport.
There you go.
It's nothing more, nothing less. If they go on to become the next Bobby Orr, wonderful. But the likelihood is they're not going to.
Well,
So,
there'll never be another Bobby Orr.
good point.
You understand
Good
that, right?
point.
And
But
it's still
remember
okay.
this. But
It's still
remember this
okay.
historically, him coming here got a lot of this done.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Remember the
absolutely.
Big Bad
Yeah.
Bruins, who did a lot of
It was
fighting.
reborn a
But-
few years
but-
ago when they won the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah.
By the way, I love what Mark Igo's doing.
Oh, it is terrific, and it's a great idea. And you know what? I'm thrilled to be part of it because I just think the hockey community, and Mark talked about it, compared to other sport communities, the hockey guys seem to be the nicest professionals.
Yeah.
The nicest
I would
college
agree.
guys.
I would agree.
And I'm guessing in the high school and amateur ranks, the same kind of thing goes. It's the discipline of the game, in part of the game.
Yeah, it's a humbling game too. So you know, it keeps you that way. And,
The thing that I love is the fact that the physicality is enough. And the beauty of this game is not the physicality. I think the beauty of this game is the skating.
Yeah.
To see a little tyke, a young person who knows how to skate, or you see a whole team out there, whether Framingham, I don't care, Belmont, I don't care where, and you see these young people passing the puck, making moves, you say, wow, I could have never dreamed of it. I played roller hockey in the streets of Philadelphia and New York, and I thought that was the greatest thing to be able to balance myself on roller skates. The first time I put blades on my feet, I was just about a grown-up and almost killed myself. And I'm saying,
Well-
these young people today, what is the youngest age?
kids start around 4 or 5 years old. Yeah.
That's unbelievable to me.
And it's a life skill too. You learn it early. You can skate the rest of your life inline versus the ice blade skates. I mean, you really can do this anywhere you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the sport's booming. You you know, it's interesting because high school hockey in the last few years has taken a few hits.
Yeah.
A lot of club teams, a lot of full season club and junior teams are coming in, and you know, the dollar rules all, and folks are seeing, you know, that hey, geez, I think my son should go over here and develop in this way. And but it's interesting because here we are tonight talking about high school hockey, and it's definitely not dead in the state of Massachusetts. We got a lot of great kids and a lot of great fans, and season starts pretty soon. So.
How's the team look this year? Do you already have an idea of what your
You know
roster might
what?
look
I
like?
think we're going to have a pretty good club this year. I'm excited to see what we can do, but we got to do it before I can tell you exactly how good we're going to be.
Oh, is he practiced in coaching speak? Is that part of the sport education?
Well, if any of my
By the way,
players- if-
you've got a great example with the local football team.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick moves his lips and says absolutely nothing. He's a master
Yeah,
at it.
I know. I watched the Football Life the other day. They had both episodes on, so
Oh,
I
that's
was
a
studying up,
Great.
getting ready
That's
for the
a
season.
great insight on what goes on.
Yeah.
But Paul, thank you so
All right,
much,
absolutely,
and I
guys.
appreciate
Good
you
luck,
taking
Coach.
some
Yeah,
time.
thanks for having me.
We're going to be doing more and
Coach,
more.
just hang with them, and let's hope the town gets smart enough that they vote.
Yeah, I
that
hope
you can
so,
fix
too.
the arena and
Yep.
do what we need to do.
All right, thanks,
We're
gentlemen.
going
Bless
to the
you, Coach.
bullpen.
Take care.
We're going to the bullpen. We're bringing in the young right-hander, Joe Braverman. He's going to sit in with you, Jimmy, and I'm going to let you sit in the chair, Joe. Okay, and talk with Jimmy. You can talk about Monday night. You could take apart any of the arguments that we had today.
Okay.
All right, you have my permission.
He loves taking these breaks because he gets a chance to go out, and then he comes back and says, well, you held it for 5 minutes, and you left. If you leave, it's ours. So we're going to do what we
That's
need
true.
to do.
We're taking over.
Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. Fool's goal with the, I'm going to throw a couple of questions at you. Fool's goal with the Bruins. Why should I get excited over 4-0 game when they haven't proven to me they're going to do this consistently yet? When I saw Tyler Sagan go out a couple of nights ago and show his butt, and I'm still saying he's a premier scorer that you let go. You tell me.
Yeah, that trade it's still up in the question. We know he wasn't, the nicest guy out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was still a kid, and now he's with Dallas. He's the superstar, and he's making a name for himself. Now, when I look at the Bruins, it's still early in the year. I'm not gonna say, oh, they're making the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm not gonna do that.
Thank goodness.
I'm not gonna say, they're gonna at least make the playoffs. I'm not gonna say that
No,
just yet, because
good.
anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
The defense needs to step up. They're allowing goals left and right, and the Canadians have had Tuukka's number. That's reasonable.
They've had this team's number.
Right.
Remember, the Montreal Canadiens just, when they went up there, I said, oh, God. When I saw 6-4, I said, 6 goals?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, and what the Bruins did, they didn't really get the off-season acquisitions that they wanted to meet with the Canadians. The Canadians did that. They
got better.
Yeah, they got better, and specifically to beat the Bruins. And last week, they did that.
And it's going to be a tough road with them all season long. Now, it's for real now. Now, everybody's out there. Everybody's playing. Who in your mind jumps out to you very early, as, I kind of like this team. I want to see how far they go.
There are a lot of teams out there. If you had to point out one, it would have to be the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are always in the question.
Yeah, they're that good.
They had a great start a couple
good.
seasons ago.
Yep, they're that good.
They're always a contender. The defending champs, the Kings, they're out there. I'll even throw the Canadians out there because they're a very talented team with Subban and Carey Price in net.
They're tough.
Yeah,
They're tough.
I can't really pick out a standout team just yet.
Okay. What about Detroit? I watched them a couple of nights ago. They look like they're coming to play too. And Detroit Red Wings, they have a history of
course.
playing this well. I looked at them and I said to myself, you're going to get caught sleeping on these guys. Franson and the rest of these guys, they're pretty darn good.
Yeah, I couldn't see them as an 8th seed last year.
No,
I could see them in the top 4 the way they played the Bruins in the first round. I'll throw the Red Wings in there. I'll throw a lot of teams out there just because it's the beginning of the season. I'm not making any early judgments just
All right.
yet.
Quickly, jump to a trade that the people are talking about because, I saw it. I've talked to a lot of people in regards to it. Percy Harvin getting traded the way he did and all the back talk now that's coming in regards to him being a problem. He has anger management issues, which makes me laugh because probably about 50% or more Football League have anger management issues. All you got to do is watch what goes on out there on the field every Sunday. What did you think when you heard the deal?
When I was shocked, really, because the Seattle doesn't really have a lot of weapons. You know, they got rid of Golden Tate. He's in Detroit now. Doug Baldwin
Played a big game yesterday.
He did. Doug Baldwin had a great game, but they still lost.
Yep.
It was very surprising, but you could sort of see it coming, because last year he only played in one regular season game. Yes, he had the difference in the Super Bowl
Yes,
with the
he was.
kickoff return, but he wasn't that productive. I mean, as I mentioned, one regular season game, and he's only got 6 yards per carry, and it's
6 yards per touch. Yep.
per touch. And
I'm going to be interested to see what's going to happen at the end of this year, because see,
Yes.
he's got that guaranteed money sitting in his contract. That's the reason why he wasn't dropped. Believe me, they got to have to pay it anyway, and they're saying, whoa. With a talent like that, we got to get something back. $25 million we just gave this guy, and now he's acting out already. And I'm looking at the factor that this isn't the first time. Percy Harvin ran himself out of Minnesota. Now he's run himself out of here. Percy Harvin has some serious issues to deal with.
Yeah, and maybe the trade, it could be the best thing for the New York Jets, because I see him as the standout wide receiver on that team. I see Eric Decker on the decline. I don't really see a lot of other weapons on the Jets, so maybe this can change. The Harvin can change. He's an excellent player. We're all going to admit that.
He's
Excellent player.
He can play.
And maybe, as I mentioned, the trade could help Harvin. It may change him with the new system, because he wasn't really the star on the Seahawks. He's going to be the star on the Jets. I'm hoping to see change in Percy
You're
Harvin.
really asking a lot, though, with a team that's 1-6 now.
That's true.
And you're bringing this guy in and expecting him to do all that. Percy Harvin is not that type of player to me. I don't see it, Joe. Now, maybe he is, and he could surprise me, but with the turmoil and the chaos that's already going on in the Jets locker room, because losing brings that out. You know, they thought they had the Patriots beat, and they could have won with a long field goal, got blocked, whatever. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen at the end of the year? Do you think this guy wants to stick around if New York is 2-13 or 3-11 or whatever? I mean, 3-13. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't.
Harvin's just he's a good player, just he's not a guy to be around the locker room. As we mentioned, anger management basically got him away from Minnesota, got him away from Seattle, and the transition from you're going from a Super Bowl champion
Contending team and contending,
team
right?
In
To the worst, one of the worst teams in the league.
Exactly. So
I mean,
it's
you were
like,
giving away. Here, we're just going to give you away. Here, go.
right, and
When does a light bulb go on in his head that this behavior has to stop?
I just think, I don't know if it will stop, because he's making
Thank
a
you.
lot of money. He's making when he stops making $25 million a year, then he'll think, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing
I just
for me.
don't think. I think there's so much more to this story that's eventually going to come out. I believe that these kind of things, as we get later in the season and things start to evolve, we're going to find out more and more about the story. And Seattle loses yesterday,
Yes.
which makes them, everybody's crazy in Seattle right now. Let's flip to another subject. Rajon Rondo, we were just talking about him.
Yes.
Your thoughts of him coming into the season?
A lot of questions for Rondo. What I mentioned a few weeks ago on K-Sports Monday was the commitment level. I mean, he was named the captain. You're supposed to show that leadership. He didn't really show that leadership when he came back from his ACL injury. He didn't attend a game because it was his birthday. He wanted to celebrate his birthday. And
I'm still shaking my head over that one, but go ahead.
and with Rondo, he says that he wants to stay in Boston. I just don't believe it. I don't believe Rondo wants to be on a team that's in a rebuilding year. He's one of the players who wants to win now. Like when they brought in the big three, when they brought in Garnett, Allen, and Pierce, he was totally satisfied with being the point guard and running the offense. Then the years came along, and Boston was getting on the decline, and he wasn't performing the way he was. Like, he had the great year in 2011, and then in 2012, they declined of Kendrick Perkins and Nate Robinson. Then there was 2013, where he had to leave he missed the rest of the season and half of the beginning.
Well, I think it started to decline from the championship year.
Right.
P.J. Brown retires.
Yes.
You lose Posey. and all of a sudden this wasn't the team that was that good anymore. From 2008 to 2009, you wouldn't pay Posey the money. You wouldn't pay P.J. Brown retired because he got his ring. He got what he wanted. Now you come back with a different team, and the Lakers got better. They won in 2009. Then they played the Celtics in 2010. There was your high watermark to come back and say, okay, we're ready. Now remember, he's starting now.
Yes.
And they put Kobe on him
Yes.
in the finals. They said, okay, we're going to find this guy can really play. He didn't step up. And this is before he hurt his knee.
Right.
This is before he tore up the knee. Now I'm saying, now that you drafted Keith Smart, now that you have Jimmy Young, Marcus Smart, now that you have Jimmy Young, this is the future of your back. And with Avery Bradley, I'm saying if you're going to make a deal, you make it before the season starts. Within the next week, you make the deal.
Yes.
If you can find somebody to take him.
Right, and
at that money.
that's the thing is there won't be a lot of people
No.
who will want Rajon Rondo. His market is slowly declining because of what he's done. He messed up his ACL,
Yep.
wasn't putting up good numbers, and then he slips in the shower and breaks his hand.
Yeah, that one I'm still.
So the market goes down. You have
I'm
to
still
think.
confused about that
You
one.
have to think with like maybe weeks and months before this, his market was up there. Like you could get a superstar. Now, the way he's played, the way he acts, he's gonna be on the decline in the trade market.
Joe Braverman, since the time he tore up his knee, he hasn't been the same guy.
Right.
And by him not being the same guy, his market value slipped because everybody wanted to wait to see him come back to see what kind of player was. He still has not come back. Remember, play a game, sit out a game. Play 2 games, sit out a game. Play this, play that. We still have not seen the Rajon Rondo that we saw pre-knee injury that can play 3-4 nights a week. We haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll ever see it. That's the hardest thing.
So how are we going to talk about a max contract, young man?
You
can't talk about a max
You can't talk about a max contract because he hasn't proved it.
And
His
any-
numbers may prove it, but the player he is does not prove it.
I
at
want
all.
to see what team would step up and want him. I think the Celtics are stuck here, and they're going to have to out something. That's what I'm thinking.
Hey, Joe, how'd you like to conclude the show?
Me
You think you
conclude.
can
I don't
wrap
know.
up the
I don't know.
show?
I haven't hosted in a while.
I think you could probably handle this. It'll be like a pop quiz. You know what
All
I
right.
mean? All right. You know what
All
the
right.
name of the show?
The Jimmies.
We talk sports here every Monday night from Knobscott Cafe.
That's right.
All right. So
All right.
look at which camera? This camera?
All right.
This camera, and wrap it up.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the Jimmy Sports Talk, live streaming on YouTube from the Knobscott Cafe in Framingham, Massachusetts. For Jimmy Young, Jimmy Myers, I'm Joe Braverman, and sorry to steal your line. That's what it is in sports.
Oh, I love it. Well done, Joe. Terrific job.
I am.
You're allowed
I'm
to steal
sorry.
it. You're allowed.
Thank you, Jamie.
You are allowed.
Woohoo!
Great job, Joe.